Sober up and the feeling has changed and I gotta go home. You follow me through my heart into my soul. You gotta see it in my arms. And I realize something went wrong.
Welcome, everybody, to the Blaston Season 1 Championships, Day 4 of it's the Grand Finals. My name's Nightfire with 2 E's. I'm joined by my co-casters, Dr. Oolong and Captain Fabulous. Dr. Oolong, it's going to be a very hyped day. 6 matches for us to dive into here.
Hyped. I'm already hyped looking at our bracket for what we can see. All these players have worked a pretty strenuous road to get to this point,
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of great matches, especially yesterday. And now we are at the creme de la crop. We are at the very top, and I still think there's a lot of stuff that's just in the air.
Cap, how are you feeling after your, I guess, relegation and loss? Are you mentally recovered? Are you ready to watch the finals here and enjoy it? Are you feeling good? Are you all right?
Look, honestly, when just after the game finished, I was a bit disappointed in myself. But on reflection, I think I really surpassed what I expected to achieve in VRML. I had a great time doing it. All the matches have been really fun, and that's really all you can really ask for. And now I'm just ready to enjoy the rest of the tournament. Plus, there's no pressure on me anymore, so I can enjoy this and not worry too much.
Exactly. You don't got to worry about your warm-up rounds that you're getting into. But let's take a look at the full sort of scale of things here this afternoon before we dive into the whole gist of how this is all going to work out. But the $1,450 on the line, $1,450 on the line. First place, the grand champion, able to net $420 in cash, the HyperX Cloud Mix headset, and those VRML customized jerseys. On top of that, obviously, the championship banner in game. So big value there. Second place, cash, hardware, and jerseys. Third, cash, hardware, and jerseys. And then fourth to eighth are in the money. So everyone essentially that's playing today has or is going to net some cash value. But at the end of the day, it has been a long road to get here. Like you said, we went through the wild card double elimination tournament 2 weekends ago, or 2 weekends ago. It feels like even longer ago than that, but really exciting matches where Master and Shermie qualified through that wild card tournament, and then Master ending up doing fantastic. I mean, obviously going up against you, Captain, and putting on a great match all the way down to that game 5. Really exciting to see them be able to go as far as they did out of that wild card tournament. And then obviously yesterday and today we've had quite a few matches as well, going through the entire bracket here. I mean, what matches really stood out to you, or any surprises, Oolong, when we go back and we think about rounds 1, 2, 3? Is it all sort of expected with 24 and Monty being here in the semis, or
No. No, I mean, we've had a couple upsets. I mean, I yesterday, Monty and Turbo, that was a fantastic match to watch. And again, A lot of players joined at the beginning of this year in preparation for the Reloaded and the Glow Up updates, in preparation for VRML, the first, major resolution game sponsored league that was happening. So obviously, that was a bit of an upset seeing the newcomers, go ahead and take the prize. Honestly, Kronster and Bot yesterday too. I was kind of expecting Bot to take the win, even though they are still very new. But nope, the fish is going to just keep swimming. And Kronster has made it into this top. I think we were talking about it before, top 6, top 8. I believe we're at top 6, but I'm gonna call it top 8 just for safety's sake. And also just 24 and Josie. I mean, a lot of people. I'm not gonna name names. But a lot of people were saying that not to sleep on Josie. Make sure you look out for Josie. He's still the best player in the world. And even though those matches were fairly close, getting shut out 3-0 by 24, that really solidifies the position. And today is going to be a question of whether or not someone can actually question him for that title of best Blaston player in the world.
Yeah, our first matchup of the afternoon, one that we are going to be looking forward to here is, I believe, Kronstar and Kronstar and Josie. I mean,
correct this time.
Yeah. Just to sort of look forward, what are we thinking about? How does this matchup shake out between Kronstar and Josie? Obviously, Kronstar playing well through that losers bracket. That is a long road that they have been climbing, or at least, that yesterday with 2 games that they had to play through. Certainly a task that they managed to work well, 3-0, 3-1. But Josie losing to 24. I mean, what is this going to be a pretty fair matchup, Cap, or do you think Josie is going to be moving on into that round 5?
Kronstar is one of the only players other than 24 and Tesseract and maybe GK or Rudy, but it's been a while, so quite a long time ago, who's taken a game of Josie in a competitive environment. And since then, Kronstar has been saying that Josie's too old to learn tricks from. True. So I think Josie's going to come in here and set the record straight. And I think it's going to be a 3-0. I think Josie's going to win this. I think Kronstar's one of the best players in the American scene by far. Certainly, I'm not surprised he made it to this top 6. But JJ is going to take this. That's how I think it's going to go. I don't think.
I'm looking for the upset, Kronster. You got this. Easy money.
Okay.
Everything today is easy money. You just got to keep that mindset, not get psyched out.
Next match, Turbo and Sloweed. We're going to stick into that losers bracket. Obviously, Turbo going up against Monty, a tall order. What are our thoughts on how that's going to shake out? And Oolong, I'll start with you this time.
Well, I think that's going to be a close one, and I think that's really going to dictate, the rest of the bracket. Honestly, our only match we can even make assumptions on today is Josie versus Kronster. I think Josie's going to take that one. Turbo and Slowed, that's still up in the air. Turbo did get knocked down by Monty. So on paper, I think Slowed would be able to take him, but Turbo is also a bit of a bracket veteran. Every single major Blaston tournament, he's made it into the finals, if not further. So I think that if history repeats itself, which it usually does, he's gonna be keeping going. And then Josie versus Turbo, we've definitely seen that matchup before. Josie versus Slowed, I don't know if we've seen that at this level just yet. So
we saw it yesterday.
Huh?
We saw Josie versus. Wait, did we not see Josie versus
No.
Slowed earlier on in the bracket?
No.
Yeah, I played 24
last
weekend.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We did see him last weekend. You're right.
Yeah.
So and that was a 3-0 matchup. So I still think Slowed could pull it back, though. I think Slowed is a little bit slept on right now, and I think that they've definitely been working on their game. And who knows? They might be able to pull a fast one.
I mean,
Cap, that was going to be last weekend.
You have gone through in the preparation phase of these matches. Do you think that there could be maybe homework done there too? Slowy maybe looking back at that matchup, trying to figure out what they could do better. Is that something that could benefit them?
Against Josie, I definitely think that Slowy will have looked back on that match and tried to work out where he could improve. But I think over the last week, Slowy will have been preparing for his games versus Peters. and Master or me, and definitely over the last 24 hours
Mhm.
since he qualified into top 6, he's going to be thinking about all of his preparation is going to be on this him versus Turbo game. That's where his mind's going to be at, in my opinion.
And we are just about ready to be jumping into our first matchup. So I got to go to our semifinals match, which is where we're headed for game 3 or maybe 4. 3, I think. Then we'll go back down to the losers, then more losers than the finals. 24 and Monty Ban. Oolong, I mean, what are we thinking here with this battle? Is Monty going to be able to challenge 24? I mean, we haven't seen, outside of Josie, who did put up good battles, we haven't seen anyone take rounds from 24.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting for sure because 24 is a slippery a little player to land hits on. And I mean, Josie is usually one of those players who doesn't have issues hitting anybody. So it could go one way or the other. Honestly, Monty brought out Bullet Hell and brought out that Hammer Ellipse and sort of the standard combo and showed that he was still able to do a ton of damage with it, regardless of how good his opponent was at dodging. If he's able to trap 24, that's a big ask already. But if he is able to trap 24, he might stand a chance. But, it's just a matter of actually dealing any point of damage to him as he just slides across the ground.
Ooh, 7. We are, again, just moments away from getting into our first matchup. Kronstar versus Jade Josie. What kind of loadouts are we anticipating here for our first game of the day? I mean, we haven't talked much about how Blaston works, but it is a 1 versus 1 game where you have 6 different weapons you can take, all that have unique attachments that you can choose from. What are we expecting to come in here? I guess we can look at it right now as they do get ready to go. What would you have anticipated from Josie and Kronstar here?
Obviously, everything that they've picked. That's what I would have said. No, I mean, with Josie, I think that he's going to play pretty much I probably would have picked what he played against 24 yesterday. If he's got new strats, he's not going to show them now. He's going to be saving them for future games. Kronstar, I would have imagined would pick double Viper, so I would have got that wrong. But instead, he's gone with a Lance, Hurricane, Hammerade. So he's kind of seems to be going quite a semi-bullet hell variant, where he's going to have these big waves of bullets with the Hammer Ellipse. And he's going to be putting pressure on Josie using that Lance. It's not the normal damage Lance we see, but it's a Lance which has more ammo. So he can keep on reapplying it, keep on making Josie move, hopefully move into either Hurricanes or more likely Kronstar's Viper Ellipse bullets.
Looks like we were just a few moments away from getting into our first round, and I'm curious, I haven't seen that lance attachment come in.
I was about to say, that
What
is
is
the
that?
extra ammunition lance. So that's going to have 4 lances in the barrel instead of the standard 2. And it's very similar to the high damage lance that we've seen, where the trade-off that you make is the fact that those lasers don't last for nearly as long as they usually do. It's usually used as a tool for movement. Speaking of movement, Josie going ahead and forcing Kronstar to go ahead and duck into a couple of those fast fall Hurricanes. That's a weapon we've seen a lot of in the past couple days, huh?
Yeah, it's been really successful on dealing a lot of damage and doing a lot of zoning in the back of the play space, really forcing people to the front of their zone where then you can kind of attack and hit your opponent heavy with your assault. But right now, Kronstar just having a tough time really getting those lances to set up the way they want them to, and Hurricane does connect on to Kronstar. It says 10 damage, but that's not even true. It's actually doing more damage than that, right? 14 damage coming through here for those fast fall Hurricanes. So they're big hitters. They're almost as equivalent to a Viper, and so so to have these landing is big damage. And right now, Josie is just doing a really nice job of peppering away onto Kronstar. They opened up with a Viper Ellipse connection, and that's really set them up since then.
Yeah, and honestly, Kronstar really needs to be landing their own Viper Ellipse shot here, but you know what? It's just so hard to do against a player like Josie, who's just so proficient at dodging, although there's a good bit of damage that gets off.
A very nice attack. Yeah, that was a great setup with the nade, the hammer, perfectly timed on everything. There's a good nade coming in from Josie, though, and that's going to connect onto Kronstar. Has to dodge all the ellipses. If they get tagged by one Viper, it is game over. But they also can't really afford little chunk damage at this point because they are so low on health. At the same time, they need to put on pressure to Josie to try and chip away on their HP as there's only 15 seconds left. Kronstar definitely has a tall order ahead of them.
Oh, nice catch.
Really nice slap.
Oh, darn that. Raptor Ellipse coming back in. I guess we should kind of take a step back and talk about the Ellipse weapons still. We'll be trying to call them out when we see them, but there are 3 weapons where, much like a very famous movie, which I would never claim that Blaston took inspiration from, you can curve your bullets with some weapons in this game. So the specific ones are going to be the Hammer Ellipse, which is going to be a curving shotgun, the Viper Ellipse, which is a curving sniper rifle, and then the Raptor Ellipse, which is going to be a curving pistol. So you're going to see that Raptor Ellipse come out and do 10 damage a hit, and generally a 3-second cooldown is going to be a very good option for just consistent damage with a little bit of a mix-up.
Gronster had a moment there where they set up nicely for the attack onto Josie, but then they ended up suffering heavily for it as they stepped forward to try and set up on that attack. And so it is really a matter of balancing offense and defense. They've taken another fast fall hurricane. That does some big damage to them. And surprised maybe is Kronstar here as Josie has come out guns blazing, absolutely on point. Hits on the Viper Ellipse. A nice kickoff here for Josie. Are we going to see a loadout swap?
We are going to see a weapon swap.
Are,
oh, my
and
goodness,
it gives us time to enjoy the cat on stream, which is what we're here for. It's what we need in life.
He was screaming during the last match. He was saying, Kronster, please stop running into hurricanes. It does 42 damage when you get hit by 3 of them. That's more than a Viper bullet, right? No? Okay, no, he didn't. He's apparently a Josie fan. I didn't realize. But yeah, no.
We got the Mao. Yeah. All right, the cat has stolen your thunder for a moment there, but what are your thoughts on that round?
Honestly, I think Kronstar should be quite happy. Those rounds were closer than I expected. I think he's probably going to switch off the Lance. I like the Lance inclusion. It's quite useful in trying to guide your opponent into moving around the podium into where you want them to be. Yeah. It's not really used for damage, more used for trapping, but also follow-up trapping, if that makes sense. I think that Kron's probably going to switch back to double Vipers. Don't know if that's the best option, but if he's going out, I imagine he wants to go out playing a loadout he really enjoys. And I imagine he's going to sub in Bounce Viper in some respect. It's interesting you're talking about Raptor Ellipse. That is considered by top level players pretty much the best weapon in the game, just because its ability to combo with itself. You can set it up so you have around 3 or 4 or 5 shots hitting the podium at the same time, making it that much harder to dodge. And any weapon that combos with itself is fantastic. You did miss out the 4th curve weapon, which is the Luma, in my opinion.
Oh, the Luma. But it's an attachment, so
Yeah.
I'm still technically correct.
The best type.
The best type of correct. All right. Yeah,
I don't think Josie's going to change anything, but maybe he'll just pick something to have fun.
Yeah, I would not. And actually, I do already
Majestic
see it
nade.
there with that majestic nade from Josie.
Yeah.
That's
not a bad
definitely
pick.
one. I don't know. That's one that I feel like he does like pulling out over the hammer nade when he wants to have just a little bit of fun with it. That's going to be the lowest cooldown grenade, sitting at 3 seconds. So you're going to be seeing that actually being used defensively too for drop blocking, which is when, like Josie just did right there, you go ahead and you drop your weapon into a bullet that is going to get rid of the bullet. But Josie isn't going to be able to drop block the second one, and he ends up taking a rare Viper hit, huh?
Viper and then Raptor Ellipse is following it up, so big connections. Those Raptors connecting for 10 damage. Those certainly hit hard. Majestic Nade coming in there to push Kronstar off, but a great opening for Kronstar here to kick things off for them is they have a nice solid lead. Josie almost down to half health. And yeah, you just got to get every little bit of damage you can. Even throwing those weapons, doing 1 or 2 damage is valuable at a stage like this.
Yeah, and you can see here too, Josie really keeping that discipline. Just not really using his weapons until he absolutely has to, and then hitting Kronster with 1 big combo. That's gonna be important, especially as a lot of players, when they get tired, they like to just use their weapons as soon as they come off cooldown, which does seem to be the spot that Kronster's in, just waiting for his weapons to come off cooldown.
Had another Raptor connect there. or excuse me, Viper connect there onto Josie, and so Kronstar maintains their lead. Those Viper shots doing 25 damage apiece, so huge damage when they do connect. I think the Bounce Viper does less, slightly less.
Yeah, so Bounce Viper is going to do the 25, and that's what Kronstar's brought out here. And then normal Viper is going to do 30. So only a 5-point difference, but the other thing, too, is that you can actually drop block more of the Bounce Viper bullets than a normal Viper bullet. I'll get into that one as we get further on into this bracket. I don't want to hit everybody with all the facts and figures right off the bat. We got to make sure to pepper this in for the new folks. Speaking of peppering, Josie's getting peppered at the start of this round, but he's got... Oh, no, Kronstar! No, you can't run into all those bullets.
Oh, there's the ellipse that connects. A very nice little bit of back and forth there to wrap things up. Kronstar taking a big damage. I mean, really good zoning, too. You see that Majestic Nade pushing them over to the side, and then Kronstar connects with the ellipse up underneath. You love to see it. Back into the action we go. Round number 2 kicking off, and Kronstar actually has the lead here this time. Josie did take game 1 pretty confidently, and here in round 2, they're looking good with a nice opening.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, honestly, you know, any round you can take off of Josie is worth talking about. He just is a master of the fundamentals of this game. He is the Ken. He is the standard brawler. The fact that Kronstar can even hold a candle to him right now is honestly really, really impressive.
Yeah, Kronstar certainly doing a very good job of giving us a nice start to the evening here, to say the least, as they do have to do a bit of dodge work here. The full attack comes through. They do get chunked down a little bit, and the double Viper is not connecting on the Josie in this round. Josie doing a good job of being conscious of the threat of that and really trying to avoid. And interesting to see that hammer nade come up and actually be used to knock out 2 of those fast fall hurricanes. I haven't seen that hammer nade used as an element to deny those hurricanes before.
Yeah, you know, we were talking right at the start of this match, or actually right at the pre-show, about, you know, players going back and being able to watch their matches after the past couple days. And I think if there's one thing from the past couple days that comes through, it's the fact that Fast Fall Hurricane is scary. It's really, really scary.
Yeah. Yeah, great zoner, a threat that you have to be aware of, and Kronstar's down to the floor. That Majestic almost connects. They have very low HP. Josie just needs to find 1 or 2 shots, and if they don't, they'll certainly take the round with time, as there's only 15 seconds left. But the double Viper's threat is always present. It can always do big damage if it connects, you know, and so Josie does take 1 hit, but that 1 hit's not going to be enough to give Kronstar enough of a HP lead, and they maybe recognize the inevitability of their loss there as they pass back and forth a hammer nade. And now we're all tied up. Game number 2, round 3. Let's see who gets it. Oolong.
Yep. Apologies, I am having just a bit of technical issues with the spectator client. It seems like Kronstar is carrying over his Viper Ellipse between rounds. There we go. There we go. That's a little bit better. And yeah, you know, something else to notice here that Josie's really, really doing well, that Aegis shield use. I talked about it before, but he's really not using his weapons unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah.
And what that's doing is it's allowing him to prioritize the weapons he is going to use, specifically that Aegis shield, that 3-second quick kind of parry shield that they can use to give them a little bit of defense. But, you know, the less he uses his other weapons, the more he can go through and use that, and that's actually saving him quite a bit here, especially with those fast fall hurricanes.
Yeah, we saw 2 of those hurricanes connecting onto Kronstar, and that's the majority of the damage that's been done by Josie here. And you can see that it's almost the damage value is actually more technically, close to the same as a Viper hitting you if 2 connect. And oh my goodness, what a perfect zoning bit by Josie. They force Kronstar over to the corner. If you go out of your play space, you take huge damage, so Kronstar can't go any further than up against that wall. And then every one of those Raptor ellipse connected. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, Kronstar just really needs to be hitting. It's a tall order. It's no simple fact, but especially with double Viper, he needs to be landing those Vipers. And Josie here is just out here doing the consistent chip damage, but there we go. There's a bounce off the podium itself. Brilliant play.
Off the podium, off the side of the wall, you know, behind them. There's all kinds of ways you can use that bounce attachment. And a little bit of a hammer there connecting. That is big damage. Kronstar, after getting zoned by that hammer nade, realizes they have to move, and look at this floor work. Kronstar really working for this one. They want to try and take this game. They've had the opportunity to get around onto Josie, and they're so close now. Not too far away, but the time ticks down. Not enough damage.
No.
Josie is going to take game 2. Do they persevere here and continue on without a loadout swap is the question, and it seems to be that would be the case.
All right. All right. Well,
No, we're going into a loadout swap.
oh, we
Cap.
are going to a low swap. Nice.
What could be changing here?
I don't think if I'm in Kron's position, I'm not changing anything. Maybe I'll get off the Hammery, but I would probably leave it as is. Double Viper seems to be working. Those bounce Vipers are, I wouldn't say catching Josie off guard, but some of them have caught Josie off guard, done some damage, and the game was significantly closer than game 1. Josie normally uses games like this just to show different stuff. So, I mean, we could have a Nova Hurricane come out for all I know. But if he's just really taking this seriously, I would imagine that he's either going to bring a Viper Ellipse or potentially a Luma. I think that right now in the current meta, it is very beneficial to have a large source of damage, a large follow-up. The build he just ran was very much just peppering you with lots of different bits of damage from everywhere with no big, I'm going to chunk you all at once kind of weapon. So yeah, I imagine that perhaps Kronstar will get off Hammery and go a bit faster. And Josie, you know what? Anyone's guess. Oolong, what do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, again, it depends on who initiated the weapon swap. I would imagine it's Kron, only because, again, I can't see Josie really, wanting to change rooms a whole bunch. I definitely think we could see Nova Hurricane. I kind of wish that we had the attachments. For all of you aware, there was an update recently that added more patches. We are playing on that update, but we are not using any of the new attachments. So there have been attachments added for the Nova Hurricane in the in-between. But Josie still brought it before the tournament, so I think we just got loaded in. We're seeing the weapons, and drum roll, please, as I look at this.
Kronstar has...
well, yeah, Josie had that Viper Ellipse before, I believe. Oh, but
No, he
Josie
didn't.
actually bringing out the bounce Viper.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Josie didn't have any. He didn't have a Viper or a Viper Ellipse last round.
Oh, he didn't.
so-
Okay. I think I was thinking about yesterday between him and 2-4. 24. 48, 72.
Josie looks like he's. Has he just gone the exact same build?
He actually
has
may
gone the
have.
exact same build as Krawn. Kronstar, this is what happens to me a lot. Welcome to it. It's not fun. It is fun while you play it, but it depends on how well you take it. Yeah, just accept it. It's going to be a fun game to play. It's going to just be sad for you afterwards. Okay.
About that into round number 1 we go. Kronstar immediately taking some chunk damage, but nothing too severe, and we'll see if Kronstar can battle back against Josie mimicking the loadout here. 2-game lead for Josie, and so I think this is probably coming from a place of comfort where they almost want to maybe challenge themselves and go up against Kronstar with their own kit.
Yep, exactly. Basically just showing, hey, I got hit by a couple of those bounce Vipers. Now I want to go ahead and show it off. Let everyone know I can hit them too.
Ooh,
Okay, there we go. Kron's
almost.
taking a little bit. Honestly,
So-
most of the damage so far has still been dealt with that fast fall Hurricane.
It is a powerful tool, especially when used right, and Josie's really doing a nice job of pushing and using it to push Kronstar back and forward. You can use it to also zone the front of the play space if you shoot it properly, and so good work here from Josie, but also Kronstar for still chipping away onto Josie here, and yeah, it really is a matter of who's going to use the kit better, who's going to find those shots, who's going to connect.
Ooh, there we
there's
go.
one. Right onto
There's
the
the
hand.
bounce. I think that Josie miscalculated that bounce a little bit. Like, these players are so good that they can just kind of tell based off of where the bullet is going to go, where it's going to be once it actually bounces. It is a repeatable pattern. There we go. Kronstar getting nailed with a Viper Ellipse bullet. And you can see how far Josie is curving these bullets off to the side as well. It's honestly really impressive.
Yeah, almost like going a full half circle on some of these
Yeah,
ellipses.
pretty much.
to reach their
I
target.
can't even imagine it with the new Viper Ellipse attachment. All right, 10 seconds left. We'll see if Cronster can get one last cheeky hit. And no, it is going to be the Hurricane. And Josie's going to take round point, set point for Josie.
And again, we're just seeing really good setup from Josie here. The bounce Viper off the wall, the hammer nade to the left, the clamp, and then the Viper Ellipse over the top. Really good work for them. Just using this toolkit really nicely there. And I mean, Cronstar is so close on that last round, but now they're just a round away from getting knocked out.
Yeah. Yep, and I can't say that it's an unexpected result, but you know what? Cronster doing very, very well in this matchup. Really just goes to show how far he's gone with his skill level. And, you know, hey, who knows? Maybe next tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't make any calls just yet, but we'll have to see. Okay, Cronster getting hit with a huge Viper Ellipse bullet.
That was almost like a straight shot Viper Ellipse. It didn't almost seem to curve, and I think that threw off Cronster a little bit there. It didn't really bend as much as they were anticipating.
Only truly skilled Viper Ellipse players cannot curve the bullet. All right. Ooh, okay, Josie. Josie just getting hit a little bit there. They seem to be getting confident. They do end up landing the bounce on Cronster. They get hit again. Oh, but the bounce is gonna go ahead and seal it for Josie. And they're gonna go ahead and take the win. GG's. Great match, Cronster. You did fantastic.
Cap, a solid start for Josie, to say the least. They'll be moving into that loser's bracket, but it is kind of a long road. If we have to think about stamina here this afternoon, they do have potentially a lot of games left ahead of them, a lot of Blast On left ahead of them. I mean, do you think, I mean, obviously this probably couldn't be a better start, really.
That is true. There is a lot of games left. And I think it does also depend on the player how much that's going to affect them. Josie is, I think he's 19 years old or 18 years old, a basketball player who's super young, super in shape. And, you know, as I said yesterday when he helped me warm up, he beat me like 25 times in a row and he didn't seem to be phased at all. So I feel that he's really got the stamina there. But I just want to say really well done to Cronstar. Anyone that takes a round off either Josie or perhaps 24 should be really happy with themselves. And I think he played well, and he did double Viper players proud. So good job. You've done your organization very proud as well.
Yeah, well, that's what matters. Next up on the docket for today is going to be Turbo versus Slow. We've talked about it a little bit, but Oolong, this is more of a toss-up than what we just saw with Cronstar and Josie, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, just based off the builds that these two have been running, I mean, we got to see Slowed yesterday against Master. Right, that was... Now I'm double guessing myself since I messed up originally saying Slowed hadn't played Josie.
No, you're right. Slowed went up against Master.
You know, so we saw him yesterday. We also saw Turbo lose to Monty yesterday. So I think that this is going to be one of our closest matches we see today. And again, this is sort of... I don't think that Slowed has really made it this far in a formal tournament bracket before. And Turbo is sort of a tournament veteran at this point. So it'll be very interesting to see who comes out on top. I will expect that you're not, well, maybe from Slowed. I don't think that we'll see nearly as many double Viper plays as we've seen in the last couple matches. I think this is going to be slower, more methodical, and, you know, lots of bullets all over the place. So definitely showing that Blast On is also a bullet hell game for sure.
Cap, are you in agreement with the bullet hell prediction? Do you feel that maybe we could see a Luma, some Luma Viper combos? We've seen that certainly be a frequent choice.
So I think Turbo can bring either a Luma or Viper, and so can Sloweed. I reckon both players will bring one or the other. And Sloweed's play style, although he doesn't go double Viper, he is a very fast player. He likes low cooldown weapons, quick setups, and then fast execution. So while it's not going to be, you know, double Viper face-off, I think that at least from Sloweed's side, it could be a lot faster. Turbo's very, I say this a lot, but he's very, very versatile. He's probably out of the top 6 that we have left, I'd say the only person who beats him on versatility would probably be JJ. and could bring anything, but he might want to slow things down with an HP Nova. If I was Turbo, I would bring an HP Nova, and if I was Slowed, I would bring a Collision Hammer just in case, trying to counter that HP Nova pick.
And this is the real beauty of the game of Blaston that we are obviously getting into and have been getting into all day, all weekend, every weekend. The nuance, even in just your loadout selection. What is my opponent going to take? What can I do to counter that? What if they don't take that in anticipation of me taking the counter? Do I take the counter to their counter so I can counter the mind games that go in to the loadout selection phase? Is so great to dive into, and it's so helpful to have you two fine folk on the desk with me to help analyze all of this. But we are about ready to jump into the action. It's going to be Slowed and Turbo. Again, Slowed on the left, Turbo on the right, so I do have to switch that up. But what are we seeing on the loadouts that, there is that Luma coming in from Slowed.
Yeah, so this is a build which Slowed runs quite a lot. It's a fairly simple setup. It's Hurricane up in the air, Hammer Nade to the side, and then you follow up with either a Raptor Ellipse and Wildcat combo, where you shoot the Wildcat and kind of go side to side with the Raptor Ellipse, or follow up with the Luma. He's included a hammer into the build. Don't think that's Collision Hammer. I think that's Charge Hammer.
I love Charge Hammer.
Yeah, it's decent.
All my homies love Charge Hammer.
No, it's good. And I think that might be because he knows that Turbo likes to stay at the front of the podium, and so it's kind of a way of pushing him off. But it can also be used to combo with the setup, so you can put down 2 Charge Hammers if you put down the Hurricane, so they hit the podium at the same time as the Hammer Nade does too. And it's just it's a high number of pellets that the opponent's got to get out the way of while you do your follow-up. Turbo, as I said, very versatile, has not gone with that HP Nova, but he's gone for a Cortex Shield in place to try and stave off some of this aggression. And really quite similar builds between the two, just a Frostbite instead of a Hammer and a Cortex Shield instead of a Luma. So Turbo's gone a bit more defensive, I guess.
Well, we've given the go-ahead to both players. As soon as they're ready, we'll dive into round number 1 of Game 1 between these two. Our second matchup of 6 this afternoon, with the grand finals being a best of 7. Each game is a best of 3, and we have best of 5 here. So at max, we could be playing 5 games here out the gate. Turbo takes a little bit of damage. It looked like a lot more than it was.
An interesting thing there, I don't know if this was part of his strategy, but I guess we'll see. Slowed actually holding on to Turbo's shield handle as it gets thrown at him. That actually is going to stall the cooldown of it a little bit. If a weapon is still spawned in, no matter where it is on the stage, it is not going to start recharging. So I don't know how much of that was just waiting for the drop block and how much of that was possibly calculated to delay the respawn of Turbo's shield.
A lot of damage connecting here. Ooh, that Hurricane bundle does hit, and a Luma to wrap things up onto Turbo. These Hurricanes just devastating in the loadout, and we do see some players really prioritize shutting it down. That Cortex Shield can be used to shut down at least one Hurricane, but is it worth it is the question here. And well, I don't know. They certainly are doing a lot of damage, but neither of them do too much damage there. Ooh, that's a straight shot Hurricane. Slowly not ready for it.
Yeah, and honestly, that versatility with the weapon, especially the fact that it does get that little boost of speed as it goes forward, playing it a little bit defensively too when you fire it forward, considering that those bullets can go ahead and soak up other projectiles.
Wow.
Slowed getting hit with a huge push from the Wildcat, that SMG, that submachine gun, for all you Pavlov players out there. And again, the straight shot coming through, it only lasts for a split second, but it does put the pressure on Slowed. It seems like they're just trying to refocus and really trying to pull out a big combo here. And there we go. Turbo now solidly in the red. He's a Luma shot away, that's for sure.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
And that was just a great combo from Slowed, right? The Hurricane, the charged hammers, the Wildcat, everything getting thrown at Slowed, and it almost was like Turbo wasn't ready for that quick of that charge hammer. They weren't ready for that fast of bullets to be coming at them.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talk about this a lot too, of especially recently with all the bounce attachments, of just splitting your opponent's attention, forcing them to look up, behind, You know, even sometimes with the bounce viper, as we saw in the last match, below to make sure that bullets aren't coming from there as well. And you know, being able to tell, as this is virtual reality, you can see where your opponent's looking most of the time. Being able to tell when your opponent's distracted and using that to get some quick shots in is very, very, very powerful. And Slowed kind of actually used it there, using the nade to distract and then going in with that super, super quick Luma. There are definitely higher damage dealing options, but I don't think you can beat the reload speed and just the overall speed of the projectile.
Yeah, that is a powerful tool, and we do see some players really excel at dodging even that, right? They have the floor work that they're capable of is certainly something that we'll see on display here this afternoon, but not necessarily needed yet. No one's really been pushed down to the ground. As I say that, though, Slowy does a great job of dodging that Wildcat. And there's that Cortex shield being used to shut down those hurricanes. You know, to get rid of them is a big add.
I just want to jump in and say the way Slowy is playing is he's always putting on pressure on Turbo. He's never really taking his foot off the gas, and he's unrelenting in this game.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll have to do a little bit of math here, but Hurricane, Hammer, Raptor, Ellipse, Wildcat, Hammernade, Luma. His average cooldown is sitting around, I'd say it's just below 4 seconds. And then meanwhile, Turbo, the fact that he's got the Cortex shield, even with that Frostbite, between the Cortex shield and the Hammernade, it is a much longer cooldown build, so he's got to be a bit more methodical about when he's sending stuff out, and especially using that Cortex shield is incredibly expensive.
Look at the threat there of Slowy being up to the front. Turbo accepting their fates will forfeit game one into Slowy's hands.
You hate to see it.
Turbo's demoralized, so it seems.
Demoralized. Oh, is he? Oh no, is he gonna? No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. Okay, cool. Okay, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. Yup, demoralized. I was about to say, yes, Slode's one match away from completely shutting Turbo out, and I guess Turbo's gone ahead and made that decision for us. You know what? These players have been fighting, at this point, 14 weeks to get to this point, and, you know, it'd be sad if Turbo goes home right now, but it was very well played all the way through, so I can't complain. I won't complain too much about that, but yeah, you can definitely see he's not moving that much. He has accepted defeat. No, Turbo, come on. We've seen better comebacks.
It's so interesting, too, because you're basically giving away money at this point, you know?
You are. You're giving away money.
Turbo here is essentially saying, I don't care about the cash in front of me. I don't care about the potential hardware. I don't care about that championship banner. And has no intention of moving on.
He brushed Slode's podium like Bot did yesterday.
Yeah. I'm sure Slowy, though, at this point, happy to take the free W, you know?
Saving their energy, yeah.
Be able to advance on.
I don't think anyone really wants to win like this.
Well, I think, again, I'm sure Slowy is perfectly fine because, again, there's cash on the line. They're going to be advancing forward. Either way, Turbo seems to be refocusing here somewhat for the last bit of this game 3, but a little bit late to be doing that.
Well, actually, okay, you know what? So 2 things. One, I did see Turbo in general chat yesterday talking about how their controller they feel like their controller is just not grabbing weapons like that, for example, with the Hammernade. But you know, also good point that you brought up yesterday that I didn't really think about, but it could be a tactic, huh? Because just by basically broadcasting that he's not trying too hard, he is getting some hits on Slode. So who knows?
They've won around. I
don't know where the mind games are at. I'm tempted to turn on game audio, but I don't even want to be privy to that knowledge. Who knows?
Hey, whatever's happening is managed to put Turbo into a situation where they could very well take a game here. And as I say that, big connections from Slowy. Maybe Slowy now refocusing after the bait and switch that they experienced. And yeah, they're going to go in with the charge hammer with the full force onto Turbo. Game number 3 into the pocket of Slowy. And that is a quick series into the belt of Slowy. They'll be moving on up against Jay Josie. And I think that's more of where I want to focus my attention. That and our next matchup, 24 and why am I blanking?
Monty.
Man.
That's going to be
Monte.
very hype. I think let's talk about that first, the semifinals match coming up here, because that's what it is, the semifinals match. And I think that's where we're going, because we got to give Josie and Slowy a break. We're actually getting reports now that Turbo actually got some outside real life distractions going on for them, so it seems.
Oh no.
It is important to note that Turbo is playing at a disadvantage all through this tournament because he's got a really small play space, and when he's got a bigger play space, he just dominates the EU scene a bit more. Just throw that out there.
So a variety of reasons that it could have been factoring into that fake out, we'll call it. We'll dub it.
Listen, we all know what happened there. He just didn't want to play Josie, and honestly, I can't blame him.
Yeah, that's where Slowy's going to be going up against next. But 24 and Monty, I mean, is 24 just going to continue to stay undefeated? They're undefeated in this tournament right now. They have not lost a round. Is that going to continue to be the trend?
They've lost a round. I've definitely taken a round.
A game. They haven't lost a game. They haven't lost a game. Are they going to lose one against Monty here? We're going to see the first game loss.
I do not expect so, because I think 24 will take this game quite seriously. Because otherwise he risks not even making it to the finals, because then he would be expecting to play Josie after the Slowy Josie game. I think that 24 and Monty, they haven't faced in a competitive tournament before, to my knowledge. But I know that in Q, I think 24 definitely has the edge. And I think that we might see a Bullet Hell versus Bullet Hell, because these two are two of the best, if not the two best players for Bullet Hell in their respective regions. Not including Tess and Josie, because they're best in their regions at pretty much most builds. But specifically Bullet Hell players, these two are your guys.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to imagine for the loadouts.
And honestly, I think the most interesting part too is just basically where our bracket goes from here as well. So at 24 and Monty, whoever loses that is going to have to go and play against either Josie or Slowed. And then, whoever wins that matchup of Josie and Slowed is pretty much going to have to immediately go from that match to a potential round 6 against, either Monty or 24. And then, if they want to keep going, potentially go back up into a winner's final against the winner of the winner of the winner's bracket. So we could be looking at one of these players doing essentially 3 matches in a row, depending on how it swings.
Yeah, and I am getting word now that we are headed to Slowy and Josie next. So Slowy's not getting a break between their matchup between Turbo and this. That's certainly going to be a factor. Also got to calculate in the heat that we're seeing in a lot of places that these players are playing in. Thankfully, it's still a little bit, well, I guess, unless you're on the West Coast, it's not the morning. It's middle of the afternoon now. Here, it's still the morning, so the sun hasn't quite started beating down into my room at least yet. But we'll have to see what we get out of this matchup and if that stamina is a factor. I mean, Cap, you can talk on this. You were covered in sweat after your game against Master. Is a 3-0 like we just saw really that taxing for Slowy? Do you think that they're still sort of ready to go for Josie?
It's not necessarily whether it's a 3-0 or a 3-2. It's essentially what you're putting in. Like, are you dodging? Are you moving around a lot? Sloyd is a very active player. You see his dodging is very dramatic, and he has lots of movement in his playstyle. So I reckon he's probably a bit tired. I reckon the last game versus Turbo might have been a little bit of a break for him. But also, Sloyd's honestly, most of the top players are very fit individuals and very athletic.
Yeah.
So I
Well-
imagine that Sloyd is happy to keep going, and if anything, you know, probably appreciates the fact he's probably a bit more warmed up than Josie is, unless Josie's been also practicing, which I imagine he has to.
Only Blast on players can only play better after they've already played an intense, rigorous best of 5 matchup. Only Blast on players would be like, you know what? I'll take a third one of those, please.
Well, that was going to be my question, though. I mean, if you're queuing regularly for hours on end throughout the course of a day, right? You're conditioning too, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, you're used to playing for at least a couple of hours each day, right, Cap?
That is true. Although I will say that after 3-4 hours of queue, you do significantly reduce how good you are. I have Tim at 3 a.m. give me the time to go to bed signs when he plays me, because he's like, "You're not
I
good
don't know
enough
how to
anymore.
do that
Get out of
hand
queue."
signal in Ozo.
Well,
But I don't think it's going to be a challenge for Sloyd in this game. I think that it's not going to be the reason why Josie takes it. That's probably what I'll say.
Yeah. If it's going to be anything, it's going to be the skill, the loadout. And what are we seeing here from Josie? No Vipers coming in, all bullet hell. The Raptor drill that you like to take getting brought by Josie here, Cap.
Oh my goodness.
So you say I like to take it. I took that on Josie's recommendation. I asked Josie why he runs it in queue, and he
hold
told
on,
me.
I think
So this is
the drill Raptor, actually, right?
yeah, it's
Still
split
Raptor.
Raptor. So it shoots and it splits. And the reason I like it is because it's unpredictable. It slows the bullet down quite a lot, and it kind of acts as a trap. And JJ just said it to me. It's like having a.
Woo! Woo! Okay. Wow.
I'll finish
What
that
a
later.
start to the match. My goodness.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about traps. Sloyd opens up with a big one. They absolutely trap Josie, completely surrounded by a full bullet spread, and they
Oh
follow
my
it up
goodness.
with round number 2 of that full bullet spread. And Josie's doing some stretching, maybe realizing they got to get a little bit more physical, a little bit quicker on their step here to dodge this spread that Sloyd is throwing at them. What a great...
It's mostly that hurricane. It really is a ton of damage from the hurricane on the back line of Josie's podium. And you can see Sloyd's not even wasting time. He's waiting for the nade and he's waiting for the hurricane, and he goes in on it. Oh, okay, this one's not as effective, even though he did get the full combo.
Also have to remember about that Luma. You know, that Luma, a big threat that they can present onto Josie, but Josie putting on a much better round 2 here. Awoken off of a big burst of damage to push them down in round 1. They now are coming in with a vengeance here, a little bit more focused maybe, but definitely a better start for Josie.
And Sloyd actually dropping the Luma. I think that may have been manipulation for the cooldowns, just to ensure that they have it ready by the time that they finish up that push. And although that first push was fantastic, it seems like the subsequent ones, like you said, it seems like Josie's waking up, getting wise to Sloyd's tricks.
I mean, that's the real test of a good, solid Blaston player, right? Can you adapt live in the game? You know, can you adjust to strategies you're seeing deployed at you and counter them? And Sloyd, with only 1 bit of HP left, gets knocked out by a weapon tossed at them. A slice of HP is something you can't really survive on in a game like Blaston, unless you can also dodge the weapons, which would be very challenging considering how fast those come at you.
Well, yeah, and also, you know, there is a way you can grab the weapons to prevent that damage from being dealt to you, but I don't even think Sloyd really realized how low on health they were. One last shot in there. Ooh, he does use the shield to block it, but he's not going to have it for the Hurricanes. And although at first these Hurricanes were in the prime placement, we'll see if he can get that prime placement again, because Josie, I think, is really dodging to the front of their podium and not trying to get caught on the back line like they were before.
There's one of the Lumas connecting. Gets a little bit of damage onto Josie, but at the cost of, I would say, equal damage onto Sloyd.
Yeah.
So don't know if that was worth the exchange, but they do come alive at least and chip some damage down onto Josie here in round number 3. First game between these two in the losers bracket kicking off here. The winner goes up against the loser of the winners bracket, and so a long road still left ahead of whoever comes out on top of this battle, but this is certainly proving to be a test for both of these players.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's funny too. Josie really focusing on using that shield before the rest of his combo. That way he has it ready for whatever counter push that Slowed might be sending towards him. And he's essentially continuously keeping that shield in rotation.
Here comes the charge hammer, the full press, a nice spread, but that shield, like you said, just doing perfect to deny Slowed their efforts. And now Slowed going to try and, again, string together something. That hammer, a key element in zoning Josie. The Luma comes in, a little bit of damage done.
Little bit of damage done. I mean, definitely bringing Josie down to half health. It's gonna come down to the last 15 seconds here.
Oh, and the Wildcat. The Wildcat comes in for Josie, and it peppers down Slowed for game number 1. A exciting kickoff to the series. We're going to go right back into it for game number 2. No loadout swaps. Obviously, Slowed managing to make this work. They know how to make this loadout work. They know it can work against Josie if deployed properly. It's really just a matter of having the opening be effective for you, right? Because that's when he has all of the kits in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it seems like both of these players are sort of trying to cycle their builds in 2 different ways. You know, again, Josie really prioritizing that shield, trying to make sure that, you know, hey, if I don't get hit, I don't lose because I won't take damage. And Slowed is trying to prioritize that Hurricane and the spreading Hammer Nade, trying to essentially prioritize damage on Josie, really just trying to burst him down as quickly as possible, or at least provide a bit of a distraction. There we go. The shield's ready right at the perfect time.
So you can see Slowed recognizing the threat of the hammer, of that Hammer Nade. And the multiple times that it's gone off, it's really done a good job of drawing their attention and then allowing Josie to follow up with Wildcat damage or an Ellipse damage or really anything else. And there was a really nice deterrent there. Some Wildcats connecting Slowed down to almost really now a couple of weapon tosses to take them down and get Josie this round.
Yeah, maybe 5-6 health, sadly.
Ooh, good dodge work to avoid that full spread, and then applies the pressure up front in the front of their play space. Is able to chip a little bit away at Josie, but not quite enough to get them anywhere. Very comfortable. Another good bit of dodge work on that Wildcat. The Luma doesn't connect, though. They really needed that one to hit.
Yeah, they really do, and that's really been the difference here. Is in that first round, the Luma was hitting, the Hurricane was hitting. And now, you know, Josie's bringing these games to the 2-minute mark, and he is really just chipping down slowly on Slowed, and that is something I don't think that Slowed can really afford. Ooh, okay, all right, though. All right. In the last 5 seconds, I don't know if it's going to matter much, but dang, did he hold on.
Yeah, really nicely done from Slowed to try and push back. That HP didn't change for almost a minute plus, I felt like. And they almost got Josie down into their health, but not quite, as round 1 of game 2 goes into Josie's hands.
Yeah, and you know, he is getting hit, but he is not getting hit. Ooh, there we go. There we go. What a wonderful start. He's getting hit, but you know what? He really isn't taking as much damage as he could be from these combos. It's just that slow chip damage over time. There we go. He gets the Luma this match, so it doesn't really apply, but when he's not getting that Luma and not getting that quick lead, it's hard to maintain a lead against all of this chip damage that Josie's able to throw out. But when he does manage to get those Hurricanes, there we go, and that's what we like to see.
Big damage connecting the full force of that spread coming in. And again, Josie doing a little bit of a reset. We saw that work for them well last time. It refocused them and had them open up pretty well against Slowed. Here comes another opening that Slowed does manage to avoid, although the Wildcat does do a good bit of damage. Yeah.
Oh, right. There we go. All right, so that was actually a fairly even trade between these two, but now Josie has their whole combo back online, and it's going to depend. Oh, sadly, Slowed doesn't get the Luma that time.
Straight Luma really so dangerous these days with how these players are using it to try and just go straight for their opponent. No arc, nothing fancy about it.
No! Not the time to be making mistakes like that. Okay, 2 hits. That's 8 damage. That's easy. And again, you know, it's the same point. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it really is that, you know, when they aren't taking this bit of chip damage and they are getting the big chunks of damage that this build can put out, then it's great. But, you know, if they get hit by 1, 2, 3 different things, then that slow chip damage over the course of 2 minutes is more than enough to take them out. Ooh, and big clamp comes down. They're just below half health, too.
All the floor work there from Slowy. They certainly tried to avoid that spread and couldn't. And then nice Luma follow-up onto Josie, but none of that connects. And Josie there doing a good bit of dodge work themselves.
Yeah, and actually that did disrupt the clamp a little bit. So it's gonna come down to these last 30 seconds for sure, but I think that there's a world where Slode's able to land a couple of these Lumas too.
Oh,
Okay, they didn't land the Luma, but they did land the Hurricane. And I think coming into the last 15 seconds is going to be too close to call, but Josie has the entire push up and ready to go. Slode has to avoid almost all the damage here or put down their own.
Every little bit matters here. Throwing weapons at your opponent is a better alternative than anything else.
Oh.
It really could have come down to 1 or 2 weapons connecting there for Slowy to take that game and tie this thing up. So close, but now it's a 2-0 lead. I mean, Cap, is Slowy going to be able to bounce back here without a loadout swap?
I think he definitely has it within him. I thought something I forgot to mention at the start of this game is that Slowy only beat Josie in a game in queue, despite playing for years, about 2-3 weeks ago for the first time.
Woo!
So traditionally, this is a matchup which has always gone Josie's way, and it's really good to see how close it's managed to get now. So a lot of work put in by it.
Oh no, he drops that Luma again! No, that is not what he wants to see! Oh, everything's coming so far down to the wire that... Oh no, Josie steps out of bounds!
Big plus there for Slowy. Slowy stepped into a bullet right there. A slow rolling Raptor shot they ended up stepping into to almost even the odds back as they went to reach for a weapon. Yeah. And
the hands are hitboxes. Yeah, and sadly, that whole bonus that he got for stepping out of bounds seems to be... Oh, okay. I spoke too soon.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. This is just going back and forth compared to our last couple rounds.
Yeah, much more faster paced it seems to with these openings. The bullet hell build is definitely lending itself to that constant chip damage, the constant action. The Wildcat absolutely hammering Slowy into the corner, and Josie stands a round away from knocking Slowy out of this and really stopping their season, halting it here.
Yep.
Oh, great shield.
Yeah. Okay, he's going to hold on to it a little bit. Again, maybe just trying to disrupt the cooldowns a little bit. And yeah, I mean, and you know, the thing is that the build that Josie is putting out this constant chip damage with, fairly simple, using that curving hammer ellipse, sort of spacing your shots forward a little bit. That way, your bullets reach your opponent at the same time. That's called clamping. If you hear us talking about it, that's what we're talking about. You can do it with other weapons, but it's known for being used with the hammer ellipse. Yeah. And, you know, really just trying to make that back end of Slode's play area dangerous and then go in with that Raptor ellipse and the Wildcat and push Slode back into as many bullets as he can. As soon as I get done with the explanation, though, Josie ain't looking too healthy in this round.
Yeah, you say that, and then one of their clamps does connect and ends up impacting Slode, and just like that, they're back into things. Here comes another spread, a little bit more damage. Gets them right back into it, almost even on HP. As I say that, 2 Lumas connect on to J. Josie. Big hits there.
What is with our caster curse today? Oh my goodness, what is with our caster curse?
Not the caster curse, just good gameplay, good back and forth. Trades of blows here as they continue to go after each other in this round that is Slowy's life or death. They need to get Josie down here. They can't afford any more damage or they are getting eliminated from this tournament, and that's going to be it. The Wildcat will wrap it up, and Josie will take game number 3 and advance on to that last losers bracket round where they're going to be going up against a very tough opponent.
Yeah. And gosh, that was such a close match. That was great played by Slode. I really think they could have taken around there. I mean, at this point, you don't really want to change too much around. You don't really want to mess around with something you've been practicing with for quite literally the past 3 months.
Yeah.
But I think in a world where he was a bit more prepared for that level of bullet hell, you know, it was really just those trades back and forth. And when Slode was able to get that damage lead and keep it, you know, they were doing fantastic, but in the games where, you know, everything was going to 2 minutes and Josie really just showing off how good he is, not just at dodging, but also drop blocking and utilizing that Aegis shield. You know, when things were going to 2 minutes, it was hard to keep up with that much chip.
Cap, I mean, your thoughts on what we saw there? Sloyd, obviously a mod favorite, getting knocked out. Sad to see. Hats off to them for how much work they do put into the league. But I mean, what are your thoughts overall there?
So I'm not surprised Sloyd lost to JJ. Okay, I am surprised by how well he did against JJ. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Sloyd. But I do just want to talk about Slowy's run so far, because his tournament is over, yes, but he's over at 4th place, which is phenomenal. And the only person he's lost to in this tournament was against Josie. He got put into a loser's bracket by Josie, and he got knocked out of the loser's bracket by Josie. I don't think you can be upset with his performance in any way. So really, really well done. Amazing performance in those last few rounds. He could definitely have taken a game there.
Yeah.
But you know, it's Blaston. Sometimes you get just as you can get really close to squeezing it out and still fall at the end. And I think Josie played incredibly well to stay on and not give up one of those games, and continue to have an amazing record against pretty much everyone in Blaston.
I think maybe Sloyd has some right to be mad at Josie. Josie, if anything, on the hunt for Sloyd in this tournament. You know, to be their 2 losses, certainly, you know, that's tough.
If I could, that is, because, you know, there's an alternate universe where these brackets were changed ever so slightly, and it was 24 versus Turbo and Josie versus Montyban, and 24 and Josie played in the semifinals. Where, you know, there's a good chance that Sloyd against Monty may have came out differently. But yeah, the fact that Sloyd reached him round 2, got knocked down to the loser's bracket, and then again in 4th place going up against, you know, I think you can't argue with at least the top 3, you know, Josie within the top 3 best players in Blaston. Man, I do feel just a little bit bad, but it was so well played. And again, he almost took several matches there, and just being able to take rounds off of Josie is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, seeding for this whole tournament got changed a few times. EU seeding got completely upset in the last week when Tesseract had a last-minute forfeit, and that kind of shifted everyone around in the bracket. I know I got knocked down a place, and also when we had one of the players in the American region, Rudy, who qualified, he couldn't make it due to time constraints. That bumped everyone up, and that's the reason that Josie and 24 share the same bracket, whereas before they were going to be in different brackets.
Well, we got a matchup ahead of us to look at. We got to stop thinking about the past. 24 and Monty are here in front of us. We have loadouts. We have a round 1 that's about to kick off. Anything that stands out here on these loadouts to you, Cap?
Yeah, so 24's gone bullet hell, like I kind of expected. Monty wants to embarrass me and show that people I don't know what I'm talking about. So he's gone his Lance Rapide Viper Ellipse build, where he sets up a triangle and goes for it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
We are getting into it. Round number 1 kicking off here. The setup for 24 is very one-sided, very loading that right side heavily and then trying to swing in with some ellipses on the left. Doesn't connect onto Monty. They managed to avoid, but here come the Lance Rapides. The zoning, the triangle that we've seen so far in this tournament from Monty does work nicely to chip away on the 24 early.
Oh my goodness. And he actually managed to hit. It's not too terribly surprising, but man, just trying to land a shot on 24 is hard enough. No, they step out of bounds a little bit and they get zapped for almost half their health bar.
Yeah, I mean, 24 certainly has been tested in this tournament so far. You know, Josie putting up good contention here, and now Monty with a nice strategy that seems to be working well against 24 when it does come through. You know, they really do have to wait for the full kit, which seems to be maybe something that will potentially work against Monty, as they have to avoid and survive this full bullet hell spread. They end up getting caught with an ellipse on the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because, again, just 24 is known for being one of the best dodgers, if not the best dodger in the game. So the fact that this combo is working, even if it is a super long cooldown combo, I mean, hey, it's better than nothing, that's for sure.
Ooh. Well, it's a big arc. They're trying to go there a little bit too big as it goes way behind the play space there. Monty certainly close in contesting against 24 here with 21 seconds left on the clock. Their full attack doesn't work. 24 able to be very patient and weather that storm. They now have the lead as the time ticks down. A little bit more damage done, but still not enough. Monty may not be able to get this round, but it certainly is a good start for Monty to show that maybe this loadout will work.
Yeah! What an amazing show. I mean, hey, when we saw this matchup with Josie in 24, we had several rounds where these guys weren't even getting down to half health. The fact that Monty not only managed to get 24 below half, but also managed to stay alive, that's pretty impressive.
Here comes the full spread, the hammer to the back, then the double hammer to the side. Monty does avoid most of it and goes for the setup on their attack themselves here. The ellipse comes through, great shield work, and maybe 24 is adapting, learning how this attack works, and it's only taken them a couple of times to be hit by it before now they're starting to figure out a way to defend against it.
Yeah, and honestly, I see Monty adapting too, really prioritizing the use of that Aegis shield, making sure to have it ready to go for when 24 pushes. And, you know, for their build especially, they really have to wait and make sure that they're using everything at once, because that's where their build's going to be most effective. There we go! 24 stepping into a beam, and now Monty has a bit of a lead.
And I really like to see this strategy coming in here. That, like you said, seems very calculated to the point that you have to wait for everything to come in. Is very methodical, but here they actually aren't waiting. They sent out their Lance Rapids a little bit ahead of everything else. They're holding on to that nade to potentially drop block any Viper shots that come in. And
yeah. And actually, I think the reason for that was to just kind of push against the aggression. Lances are a very good defensive tool, especially because they force your opponent to essentially worry about their positioning while they're firing back at you. Ooh, that got close for a second there. And I think that he realized he had a bit of a lead, and he wanted to keep that lead. He didn't want to risk it too much.
Full attack. None of the
Okay,
ellipses
all
connect,
right.
but a little bit does do damage onto 24.
Man, I have no idea if he actually has a lead here. But 15 seconds left. 24 has their entire combo. The Lance R is on the field. I don't know if he sees it. Ooh, 5 seconds left of the clock.
Comes the attack, the full press. Not going to be enough damage. 24 is going to take game number 1, but if I were Monty, I don't know that there's really anything that needs to be swapped out here. Everything's looking pretty good. They're getting 24 pretty dang close on a couple of these rounds. They just need to orchestrate really 3 or 4 good clamps in a row. You know, that's what they need. They need this play to work 4 times in a row, essentially. They need the hammer nade to really be onto the side of 24, where it's really hitting them on the left and the right while they're unable to dodge because of the lance. And just like that, where the hammer nade does tag the back, that's what they need.
Yeah, and if I could be so bold as to critique a decision that Monty made, you know, we see Monty going for that extra spread hammer nade, getting that extra damage, 6 damage a pellet versus 4 damage a pellet, but at the same time, he actually doesn't really want spread if you think about it on this. He wants to be going right down the barrel with most of his bullets because the lances are essentially holding 24 in a place for him. Obviously getting hit with a big turn there, but we'll see. Oh, we'll see if he can get it back, and I think he does. It's not all the way, but he definitely gets a good chunk of damage off.
And a really nice job of pushing 24 into the lance, into the nade, into everything there. And I'm surprised more damage wasn't done onto 24. Monty definitely also weathering the storm, though. They do take a big chunk of damage for that push. 24's credit, they're doing a really nice job of countering the aggression from Monty here and avoiding this attack. Ooh. The ellipses are just not connecting.
Yeah, I thought for a second that ellipse connected, but nope, that was just one of the pellets. And, you know, that's the other thing, too, is that although, you know, those lances do a ton of damage for sure, especially the Lance R, you know, compared to a Viper bullet, I'd still rather take a purple beam any day. So it's going to depend on how well he's able to capitalize when he does have 24 zone. And then going into 15 seconds, I don't think he really has any weapons that are even going to be off cooldown.
Well, they also have to survive the full attack from 24. Round 1 of game 2 goes into their hands. So far, they have not lost a game. Monty's close to taking a round, but they haven't even managed to do that yet. 24 is looking like that impassable wall, that immovable object that has been really dominating through the course of this bracket. And I mean, it's got me thinking about the future, about the championships. How is this going to work? How's 24 going to do there? I'm already looking forward. But right now, still have this semifinals match, and Monty putting up a good battle, but again, a good opener for 24.
Yeah, and it's. I feel like they've got the right idea. They've got a good thing, especially because it really is only one weapon that this is dependent on. But they really have to be making these turns, because with the build that 24 is running, they actually are going to be on a shorter cooldown as well. I mean, that Lance R is not cheap. That's 9 seconds of a weapon, and when 24 can get the Hammer Ellipse and the Aegis Shield back within that short period of time, it's very difficult for Monty to get back the sort of footing that they need to be able to in order to push back against these combos, because if they wait for 24 to just continuously let loose their combo, they'll actually end up being behind. Whoa, there we go. There we go. Big
24.
hit between the Charge Hammer, or Charge Hammer and the Viper Ellipse.
Oh, another one. Wow, the shield that 24 has been doing good at denying those, but as it's used there to deny the hammer nade, the Ellipse comes in and connects, and Monty had the lead, but that ends up pushing them back down. At this point, they really need to just connect with guns. They need to do 1 or 2 damage to get themselves back into it. They're going to go for the press. They're going to go for the finish with the Ellipse. It doesn't connect. They have the hammer nade in hand. That could be a tool that does do 1 or 2 damage. It does just enough to put Monty into the lead, but 5 seconds is a lot of time for 24 to try and do something.
Oh, there we go. Come on. Yeah!
Monty does take a round, but it's not over yet. They haven't taken a game. It's still 24, a round away from pushing this up 2-0.
Yeah. And another thing that's interesting too, he has the Charge Hammer and he has the Aegis Shield, but he actually isn't focusing too much on that nade. I'm surprised to see that, that's not a high priority target for him. But then again, he seems to be doing a good job of getting out of the way of it.
Ooh. That's good. That's good play by Monty there. He pulls that shield out from 24 with all of that lance, all of the hammer. 24 has to block it. They can't sit there and get hit by it. And so then that's when the Viper comes in, when 24 is finally exposed. Very few opportunities where you find that the case there, because again, that shield can be utilized to block at least one of these Viper Ellipse shots. And
yeah, and I'm seeing a definite switch here from Monty. Once he gets the lead, he's using those lances to essentially make sure that 24 can't get the position he needs in order to get off his combo. And actually, yeah, 24 ended up taking quite a bit of damage from that lance there. I wonder if we're going to see Monty take a round.
We very well could. We could see the first game loss here for 24 in the tournament. It would be fitting for it to finally be happening here in the semifinals, when they really are being tested with their skill, to see if they are the best of the best. And Monty is just doing a great job of staying focused, battling away here, drawing the attention while the push comes in. And 24, I mean, good work from good dodge work from Monty as well, to be avoiding all of this pressure that 24 keeps deploying. Can they survive for 30 seconds is the question.
Yeah, which especially because I'm starting to already see 24's combo come back. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. But they do land another Viper Ellipse bullet. 15 seconds left.
This is comfortable.
I don't even want to say anything.
This is comfortable for Monty right now. 8 seconds, 7 on the clock, and they're going to hit with the lance. A game to Monty, the first game loss for 24 here. Captain, any thoughts? No loadout swap.
Just to note what Oolong keeps on saying about using the Lance Rapide. If you can spend 9 seconds of Lance Rapide cooldown to interrupt what is essentially about 15 seconds worth of combo follow-up CDs from 24, then it's worth it every time. A way to look at trades in that respect is, am I spending more cooldown than my opponent?
It's not very I would say that it's okay cooldown efficiency wise. It's great slot efficiency wise. It's just such a long cooldown compared to a lot of the other meta weapons that get used, I feel like. But Monty going through and actually surviving pretty well through this first push. I'm surprised they aren't starting to cook that nade as they're bringing out those Lance R's, trying to get a little bit of synchronous play going.
I want to see how 24 now deals with a little bit of adversity, because this build has gotten Monty AW. They managed to maybe Monty's figuring it out a little bit here on how to work 24, how to force the shield, how to draw that ellipse shot to connect. And 24 finally does hit with ellipse. I think that's maybe one of the first shots that they've managed to connect with that ellipse onto Monty today. It's really just been bullet hell damage getting dealt. But big connections there for 24. Now they have a nice, comfortable lead. 40 seconds left. The full attack getting disrupted by 24 there. Perfect timing.
Yeah, and you know, I'm seeing Monty do what I kind of was talking about right during the pre-show. When people get tired, they start to play a little bit more sloppy, and they start to, you know, not wait for their full combo to come off cooldown. I think most of this is to dissuade aggression, but when Monty's playing behind, he really can't be sitting on his laurels too much. He has to kind of get ahead a little bit.
And that is a very commanding comeback round for 24.
Yeah.
They did lose that game, but they come back with a solid lead, good dodge work, and again, the question is when or if 24 will really be able to figure out a good way to counter this Monty setup, and maybe it's just a matter of making their play work. And,
No!
Wow.
Stop rooting for players too long.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything at the very start of that round.
Big connection there on the 24. Monty, you know, had 24 actually got so aggressive. They stepped so far forward. They stepped out of their play space, and then Monty ends up getting hit by the ellipse that they stepped forward to shoot. So is it worth it? I don't know. You tell me. It ends up now with 24 in a very comfortable lead. Monty with the task of chipping away big damage onto 24. They do just that to connect with an ellipse shot as they force 24 to the ground.
Yep. Oh, and they actually catch the nade. Oh, that weapon toss doing 8 damage is actually going to be pretty relevant. Oh, it's actually too close to call. We still got a full minute left to go, too.
Throwing guns, you know, again, will get you a potential win. Just get your toolkit out there. One bullet also gets you the win, and 24 takes game number 3, but just barely. Monty says,
and we are going to do a weapon swap.
It's time for a loadout swap, and so we go into a little bit of an intermission where Cap can ponder what we could be seeing here coming in from either one of these players.
So there are 2 ways this can go. Monty can either go back to bullet hell, a build that he's very adept at. And I mean, part of the reason you could see he's so good at dodging 24 is because he's played so many mirror match bullet hell games, and he knows how the spread works and how to get around it. Alternatively, he could try and adapt this current loadout because it has drawn blood for him. And just looking at it, I suppose the thing that he would need a bit more is maybe a bit more survivability. So perhaps swapping an Aegis for a Cortex, but then that reduces the cooldown, which means he's not going to have it as much. Perhaps, you know, swapping in a hammer for a Cortex even. But if Monty's initiated the loadout swap, which we've seen, if I was Monty, I would swap out Viper Ellipse for a Luma. I think that would do the same job, but you'd get more shots off in the time.
Oh, my stuff's a little bit glitched out, but
I think we're all good. We should be back live to catch the action. I don't think we've missed anything, technically. When we crashed, we went down on scene here.
13 seconds left on the clock. It does seem like 24 has just a little bit of a lead. Heading into this last little bit of bullet hell, they do get hit. Is Monty able to maintain it?
I have the wrong.
He does! He does! Monty manages to maintain it, and we're going into a game. That's game 4, right? So this is game 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently Monty can fix what's broken, and I commend him for that.
I did record the last little bit of that match on my backup rig, so hopefully I'll be able to post that later today.
Yeah, apologies for that drop. I think we only missed a round or 2, though, so all good. We're still going to be here for game 5. Hopefully everything is back up and running on other platforms as well. So again, appreciate you all stopping by and hanging out and weathering through any sort of tech difficulties. First time that's happened. So either way, it's all sorted, and we should be able to get back into the action here for our next round. At least I think we didn't miss too much, and if we did, I do apologize. But either way, we are back live, and
it was a lot of very small chip damage throughout the entire latter half of that matchup, and then really just in the last seconds, Monty managed to land just a couple good hits, and 24 was not able to go ahead and get it back. And honestly, it's like the same thing we saw with Josie and 24, but in reverse. And now we might we actually might see 24 going back and facing off against Josie again.
and apologies for the camera issues there, but yeah, we are going into a game 5 for this matchup, and I think it is what we sort of anticipated in that pre-show, right? We weren't sure who was going to be coming out on top of these two matches, Turbo versus Sloyd and 24 versus Monty. And
no, I was very sure about who was coming out of this match, and I've been made to look a fool. Monty is, I think, performing way above a lot of expectations here.
I think maybe everyone just has put too much expectations onto 24. Is what I'm thinking here on the desk. I'm seeing some very scared players of 24 and one confident player of Monty Ban who's duking it up here very nicely against 24. I mean, we are tied up 2 games apiece. Monty's found some good loadouts that work. They're going back to a loadout that they were just running earlier. They've swapped off a couple of other tools. At least they do have the Aegis Shield on top of the Lance Rapid. So they're bringing, again, more. We're just seeing very interesting loadout swaps here to try and counter one another.
Interesting to see Monty hosting again, to be honest. I think he's hosted 4 out of 5 of these games. But obviously doesn't think it's making too much of a difference. I don't know what to say about this change up. What's he switched out for the Aegis Shield? What did he have before?
He had I want to say he had that Aegis Shield on. I'm pretty sure both of them have kept the Aegis Shield on for every single one of these loadouts. From 24, I think I see the Raptor on. I definitely know that he didn't initially have that on his build.
He had a Viper Ellipse.
Yeah, he switched off the Viper Ellipse and the Luma, trying to go for a little bit more of that chip damage, a little bit more of that bullet hell. And meanwhile, Monty has gone back in on those lasers, so and still keeping that extra spread for the hammer nade. So this could really go either way. Oh man, I am though. I'm a little bit stressed for Monty. I really want to see Monty go forward in this. As much as I love 24. The fact that this might be the first loss I see from him in quite a while is very, very, very exciting.
See in chat, Monty's been working the laser loadout for a few weeks now, and this is what I was kind of wondering is if players have been working on strats and maybe not necessarily debuting them in intense moments until it comes down to tournament time when it is all on the line. And I mean, we could very well see a rematch here of this as well, right? This could be the first of the second times that these two face off, and so there could be a lot more of this if we go to the finals and one of them does win. But either way, a great battle here so far, and a nice opener for 24 with, for Monty with 24 doing a little bit of damage back there.
Yeah, and honestly, Monty 24 got through 2 of his combos and still does not have that health lead. So even though that was just a bit of a dud from Monty there, didn't do quite as much damage in that first turn. I mean, still showing what this build can do.
Ooh, one big connection there from that Raptor.
That follow-up. And that seems to be what 24 is doing, is just extending his combo by just a little bit more by putting on both the Raptor and the Wildcat. Ooh, and 24 does end up stepping into the beams just a little bit.
Dodge back, avoid that ellipse, and right now Monty's just doing a nice job of maintaining this lead, avoiding that full spread coming in from 24. It does take a little bit of damage, and that little bit of damage is what separates them from 24 right now. 30 seconds left. The Charge Hammer comes out before the Lance does. An interesting choice.
Yeah. Oh, man. And things are a little bit too close for me to call. He does have that lance up again. He's going to follow it up with a raptor. Is he going to land anything, though? He really does need to do it. He does! He does manage to land it, and he takes round 1. Set point for Monty. Oh, my gosh.
Genuinely, this is more stressful than any of the games I played this entire season.
Genuinely having a heart attack myself here on the caster deck.
Nice attack there from 24. Does get the early damage, but not an opportunity yet for Monty to display their loadout here. And here it comes. The Lance Rapid pushing 24 to the ground. Everything else with the charge hammers up through the middle and then the hammer nade onto the side. It really tucks 24 into a corner where then Monty wants to connect with those ellipses and couldn't connect onto those ellipses. And here comes the full press from 24. Big damage on the Monty.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I was talking about before, usually the build is, send the clamps towards the back and then push them back into it. Although 24 does take a ton of damage there from that combo. It's just how well Monty can dodge against the rest of this build, especially as he gets pushed back and forward. Ooh, okay. They're holding on. They're holding on.
It really is just a battle of builds right now as these two duke it out. 24 diving into that laser to avoid heavier damage, prioritizing taking the damage so that they can minimize it. And right now, that was important to do because this is very close. Monty trying to deny the hammer nade with their charge hammer. Does not work out, and they end up taking big damage themselves. Now they have to wait for their loadout to come in, take a deep breath, and try and get some damage done. They're recognizing that they are so close to moving on to the championships here and getting a chance at first place at that banner. But they're not quite there yet. They have to get through 24. They have to get through this final bit of HP, and there's a great shield work to avoid that charge hammer.
Oh. And he's got that Viper. That Viper is probably going to be enough on its own. If he manages to land it, no, the Viper or the Raptor Ellipse is gonna get through. And now we're at 3-3 in game 5 yet again.
Had a couple of these so far over the course of this weekend, and I'm happy to see it here in the semifinals between Monty and 24. Monty absolutely putting on a great display of this loadout build. They're really challenging 24 to the maximum that we've seen 24 get challenged. And I mean, floor work, a lot of floor work from 24 to really stay alive in this series. Both loadouts get deployed. Neither one takes damage. Both of these players locking it in here for this final round.
Yeah, wow. This is starting to look like the start of the last round, or the last game too, where neither one of these two are really taking any damage, although 24 does stand that beam for a little bit longer than he likes.
Monty also redirecting that nade while they're attacking 24. Really great awareness of their surroundings to be able to take that opportunity and capitalize like that. Good shield work that does catch some of the damage, but not quite all of it. And Monty does get chipped down a little bit. Every little slice of damage matters here in this final round of this series. Well, that Lance Rapid does end up connecting onto 24. Little bits of damage coming through. The shield now not deployable, so the Viper Ellipse could connect. We'll have to see if Monty can find. No, they can't. They have not been able to hit big on that Ellipse for a couple of rounds now.
Yeah.
Rush play, throwing out the hammer nade and the charged hammer, but maybe it was also the timing would come through here. The Raptor Ellipse comes through. The Viper doesn't connect. Big step forward for Monty, a risky step forward, but they do avoid the full spread.
All right. Yeah, 24 is definitely not out of this as far as his pushing ability is concerned. That nade doesn't go off, but Monty does take a bit of the clamp. 10 seconds left on the clock. I don't know if they're going to even have their combo ready to go.
24 has the HP advantage, and that is what's going to get 24 their game win. It is by a fraction of HP in round 3 of game 5. A absolute amazing semifinals match, but again, it's not the end of it, right? Because we could see this match happen again in a best-of-7 scenario in just a few moments, truly. I mean, we're headed down to the losers bracket now, where Monty, after playing a very hard game against 24, has to go up against Jay Josie. We may take a brief 5-minute break to allow those players a bit of a breather, allow us a bit of a breather
I need a
here
break.
on the desk, and then we'll get back into it.
But yeah, one thing I do want to say before we head out, especially since that last round, I think really did come down to cooldowns. I did do a bit of math during that last match. Outside of the Cortex shield, the Aegis shield, 24's build was 19 seconds long across 5 different weapons, while Monty's, just with that Lance R, was all the way up at 24 seconds. So, you could fit an entire another Viper Ellipse between the cooldown differences of those two builds. And I think that's why we were able to see 24 just constantly be putting out these combos after combos after combos, even when Monty was still able to put out his, even if it was, 1 or 2 cycles behind.
Yeah, and let's just take a quick look at the bracket here for what we've been through, where we're headed, and what we have left. So far, we started in that losers bracket with round 3, round 4, Josie and Kronstar. Josie winning and moving on to round 5, beating Slowied and moving on to round 6. Now, the loser of that semifinals match, Monty Band, will go down into round number 6 and go up against Josie. The winner there moves up to go against 24. So we're either going to see Jay Josie in 24 or Monty Ban in 24 in the finals. Either one of those games has me pretty dang excited based off of what we just saw there. Maybe Josie could learn a thing or two and try and deploy some interesting strategies to try and counter 24. But either way, it's going to be an exciting couple of matchups here. Another best of 5 for the round 6, and then a best of 7 for the finals. And we round up and round off season 1 of Blaston. A long road to get here for these champions, and a lot of hard work for sure. Again, we're going to have to take a break because we need to allow these players a breather after that one. But when we come back, it is going to be that final losers round bracket. We'll see who is our 3rd place champion and who gets that 3rd place prize in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Sober up and the feeling has changed, and Sober up and the feeling has changed and I gotta go home. You follow me through my heart into my soul. You go see in my arms, and I realize something went wrong.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for our third place matchup, the losers bracket of Monty Ban versus Jay Josie. I'm alongside my casters, Dr. Oolong and Captain Fabulous, and we have all of you at home tuning in on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or Horizon venues. We appreciate all of you stopping by, hanging out. The ups and downs of the tech issues and what have you, they've all been trying times, but here we are for what should be two very good games. Monty Ban and Josie, a best of 5. Winner here goes up against 24 in a best of 7. Who do we think is coming out on top? Monty is obviously warmed up, playing very good. Jay Josie, been winning, playing very good. At this stage, I don't think. What is there any guess, Oolong?
That exact sort of just garbled, not really. I don't think we can make any assumptions at this point. I think that Monty just showed that, hey, you know what? How much of the game happens before we go ahead and we step into the lobby? And, Josie, obviously a very, very good player, and Monty really coming out here and showing his stuff too. So I am not making any assumptions about, honestly, the next matchup. And we were kind of talking before we went back on cams, but even with that final matchup, because both of these players either way have gone up against 24 and lost before, but we've had situations in several other tournaments where people have come back from the losers bracket and ended up winning the whole thing.
Cap, what are your thoughts here? Do you think we're going to see Monty and 24 rematch in a best of 7, or is it going to be Josie pushing through here?
I have to give it to Josie. And this is really more of a reflection of the fact that I've watched Blaston for well over a year. I've seen Josie in many tournaments. I've seen him get knocked down to the losers bracket, come back and win the thing in the likes of Val Summer. He's a player which doesn't show all of his cards, and he will bring out tricks which no one knows about when he needs to. With that said, I am one of the biggest Monty Ban fans.
A Monty stan, if you will.
A Monty stan, exactly. And I was shocked. I play this guy a lot, more than most people, and I was shocked at how well he just played. And I know he's one of the top EU players, if not second best EU by quite a way. So, if he plays like he just played against 24, there's a very real possibility that he can go back to have a best of 7 with 24. If I was a betting man, I'd bet on JJ, but with the likely odds, I'd probably put the bet on Monty because that'd be more favorable. It's a lot closer than you might be thinking.
I mean, I can hear the debate in your head, even in saying who you're going to go.
Right?
I could go Josie, though. Maybe Monty, maybe Josie. That's, I think, where we're all at here on the desk. It is a toss-up. It's why we're excited to tune into this matchup here between these two, as we are getting ready to dive into the action here. Round number 1 of Monty Ban and Jay Josie. Monty in blue, Josie in purple, and out the gate, Monty is going to get tagged by a little bit of damage.
Yep. Josie, if nothing else, definitely playing quick. Definitely looking for a quick win and then heading to finals if he can.
We're seeing a
There we
completely
go. Monty
different,
much better on the second push too.
really different build from Monty here. The fast fall hurricane, the raptor ellipse, the hammer ellipse, that wildcat. It's obviously a bullet hell build. And that's going to come down to now executing on this build successfully. And no hurricanes connecting here. Josie doing a good job and really just sitting in the back of their zone right now.
Yeah, and the Josie is just so good at dodging that, a lot of matches too will just go to the timer purely based off the fact that he can just dodge. So Monty's gonna have to kind of keep up with that too. Oof, and those hurricanes just doing work.
Big connections there, and a nice denial of the hammer nade with the charge hammer there, but some damage does connect for Monty here. Finally able to get a nice chunk onto Jay Josie as we do get into the back half of round number 1. A little bit more damage for Monty. A little bit, every bit counts. You also see those guns coming in.
Yeah, and that weapon throw is what brought him down to the red too. So he's gonna get one more. Ooh, okay, there we go. He managing to land some hurricanes there himself.
And a little bit of chip damage on top of that does cut Josie down below the half health bar. Monty in the red, but still doing a good job of pushing back up against Josie. Is the loadout going to spawn in time for either one of them is the question. When is that attack coming through? A Sixer does hit Josie. A Raptor Ellipse does hit Josie. Things are very close, just a slice away. 10 seconds left. Monty can't afford to get hit any more than they did.
Oh,
and
they need to fire their weapons. Darn, and if they would have just fired that hammer ellipse just a couple seconds earlier, just going to show how close all of these matches are going to be, huh?
Round
I
one.
would
Go ahead, Cap.
just like to jump in here and say that Monty, after playing 24, is now playing Josie. And you've got to think, Josie's a lot taller than 24. He doesn't dodge to the floor as much. So Monty needs to angle his shots and his clamps slightly higher up. And that could take a few rounds to get used to. So that's going to be a bit harder for him.
Wow. Yeah, something we definitely haven't talked about. Something you have to factor in, too, is the difference in physical, obviously physicality, right? How much you dodge, how you dodge. And to your point, we aren't seeing Josie walking on the floor like we were with Monty. We're also not seeing the same sort of build and zoning that Monty was putting on. So it's interesting. I wonder if maybe they picked into this build trying to counter what Josie would maybe try and pick to counter the Lance Rapid. I mean, who knows the mind games that could be going in at this stage of these loadouts. But either way, it's impressive, I think, to see that both of these players are able to play such a diverse bit of loadouts, whether it's Double Viper or a Bullet Spread or a Lance Rapid. They have so many different loadouts in their tool belt that they can play at a high level.
Yeah, both of these two are also really focusing on keeping that shield in rotation, trying to use it at the right time, not just use it to get rid of bullets, but use it before they can set up their own combo if they can, so they can have it ready to go when their opponent pushes. Ooh, and there we go. Oh, beautiful, beautiful plays. I think that Monty has just a little bit of a lead here heading into the last 30 seconds.
By a sliver. No, every bit of damage counts, and
Yeah.
Monty now getting chipped down that much more. Tries to push Josie back into the Hurricanes, but it's too late as the Hurricanes fall, and Josie just doing a great job of dodging this attacking loadout from Monty. Monty getting tagged a little bit more and is not going to have the time to get this loadout out there. The bullet hell isn't gonna connect in time.
I do not believe it is, sadly, but no, sadly. Just a little bit of mobilization there would have done him good, but Josie is going to go ahead and take that round one. And okay, we are going to go ahead and do a weapon swap. I think that may have been a room swap by these two. I'm not quite sure, but I saw the hand signal coming in at the end there.
Okay, I'm curious if Cap, what your thoughts are on this, because we've seen different loadouts coming in from Monty. What is Josie thinking here? Because maybe Monty's going to switch to that rapid build. Maybe he's going to switch to the Viper build. What is he going to throw out here?
I think Josie isn't too concerned as much as 24 might be with that laser build because he's a lot taller. So he's got more vertical movement to actually dodge these lasers. What I think from Monty is he's either going to switch to the 3 laser build or he's going to come back with bullet hell, but he's going to have a Viper Ellipse because he needs something that can really force Josie to react and, dodge out of the way, maybe dodge into the bullet hell combos, dodge into the Hurricanes a bit more. He doesn't have a big pressure weapon at the moment. So I expect whatever loadout he brings, Monty to have a Viper Ellipse in it.
Oolong, what are your thoughts? Do you think... we've seen loadout swaps that haven't even been loadout swaps before.
Yeah, and again, this could be a room swap too, and we're loading in, so I'll be able to see it now. But, I think a good portion of, obviously Josie and 24 are two completely different players here, but focusing on, Monty bringing out that creativity and really trying to catch Josie off guard. I think that by itself is going to give them a bit of an advantage. We do see Josie going for a double nade loadout with the Majestic nade and the that is the extra spread hammer nade. And meanwhile, Monty has made the switch, like Fab has said, to that Viper Ellipse. I believe that's really the only... Oh, but the Fast Fall Hurricane's been taken off for both these two, huh?
Yeah, the Viper Ellipse for Josie as well.
Yeah, there you go. So
Honestly,
I guess that these two are seeing value in having that on top of all the other bullet hell that they have in their builds.
People have practiced so much against Fast Fall Hurricane that a lot of the focus is on dodging. So sometimes just taking out the build doesn't hurt as much as you might think.
first attack. Connects nicely onto Monty for a good bit of chunk damage. Monty patiently waiting to get their push going on as their ability spawns in, and here comes their spread. They step forward. They do the same damage back, or close to it, as they also try and connect with that Viper Ellipse, really pushing Josie to the back of the play space, but again, they can't get that Ellipse to connect there, and so they do have to step back. Good shield work to dodge that full spread from Josie.
Ooh, and you're gonna see those nades go up to try and distract Monty so that Josie can maybe get a Viper Ellipse shot in here. Clever plays. He's done it before, so we'll see how it works. Ooh, and Monty landing their own Viper Ellipse.
On top of what looked like some Raptor Ellipses, a big combo that slams in to Josie there, and that's what this loadout's about. Big damage dealing coming through. Sure, there's some chip damage potential, but these Ellipses are here to hit for big damage. 30 apiece if they connect, and wow, there's a good spread that does connect onto Josie
managing to land another one. Fantastic.
The other thing to consider about ellipse weapons within a bullet hell loadout is just that pressure of making people dodge and focus on that ellipse means they take more chip damage because they can't focus on dodging away the bullets.
And you know what? I give a lot of credit to Josie and 24 for their dodging ability. I just want to say Monty being able to pull out that shield and really squeeze through the inch or two of space that he is able to in order to dodge what Josie's throwing out has been really, really impressive.
Like the Raptor Ellipse, Viper Ellipse combo that I'm seeing coming in from Monty. They're really deploying that nicely to counter Jay Josie and that shield and work around it. You know, putting so many bullets downrange at them that they have to sort of react. And wow, that was a great redirect on that nade. Josie gets a full spread coming at them, and it's too much to dodge. They take a big chunk of damage.
Yeah.
Also,
Wow, that curve almost went all the way back around too, man.
But just a note on that Raptor Ellipse, Viper Ellipse, that means one of those has to be held in their left hand and curving with a non-dominant hand.
That's true.
It's a lot harder than you think.
Woo!
Monty gets hit by that Majestic. That does a nice chunk. Really, really nicely placed, where Monty just couldn't avoid it and had to end up taking that damage, otherwise get pushed out of the zone. So good job from Josie to get back into this, and I think Monty still has the lead, but it is barely there.
And you can see Monty stepping back to intentionally take that weapon throw damage rather than risk another Majestic nade coming down on top of him. Okay, and Josie getting just peppered.
Monty's looking to take their first game here. Finally, the Aegis Shield connects onto the Hammer Nade. They've been trying to do that all game, and it's been taking them a couple of tosses, sometimes wasting that shield when it doesn't connect, but shutting down that Hammer Nade from the backside just at the right time, as there's only 10 seconds left now, and now their assault comes forward. If one of those ellipses connects, it could be Josie's end. 3 seconds left. Josie has the lead. One ellipse to connect here could be Monty's end. It is going to be a tied game. We are tied 1 game apiece here. Do we see a loadout swap between the two? Yes, we
Oh, we are. We're going to do another one.
I would assume this is a Josie-initiated loadout swap, so I would imagine Josie's going to go to a similar build to Monty, although prepare for me to be completely wrong on this. And I just want to congratulate Monty on entering that elusive club of people, a very small exclusive club of people who've beaten Josie in a competitive game.
Oh, wow.
It really is something to put on your
But
Blaston
you know,
resume.
there have been so many fantastic and new players that have stepped up in the past. I mean, I in my mind, it's 6 months, but it really is the past 8 months heading up into August who have put some serious hours into the game. I mean, of course, Monty, but I just want to go ahead and call out Bot, Arbo, just looking at this bracket. I mean, Triotrix, Eaters. So many people put so much work into this game.
Old school. He taught Baby Spine how to clamp, apparently.
Wait, Peters or Triotrix? I messed up on one.
Triotrix.
Oh, okay. Yep. I totally
Also,
messed up on
Peters
one
has
of
been around for a while, actually. But, like, poo on my shoe. That's
yeah,
a
there
big
you go.
one.
There you go. That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, heck, Master 17 wasn't even in. He was around, but he wasn't in competitive events up until very recently. And I mean, just going to show what, you know, maybe a fresh set of eyes can do for you here.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is looking to, I mean, my only prediction is that we're probably going to see a game 5 on this one. I can't tell you who's going to win that game 5, but I would wager to say we're going to see it.
Yeah, it is certainly presenting itself to be a fantastic third place deciding series here, because that's what we're getting here. The loser is locked in for third place. They will be getting a good chunk of that cash in prize pool. If we go back and look at the info on the championships page, third place coming away with $100 in cash, HyperX Cloud earbuds, and a customized VRML jersey with their names on the back. So certainly something, again, to be fought for here. Even if you do lose, you know, at least you're coming out on top. But if you win, at least you're guaranteeing second place. You're guaranteeing a chance at first at that championship banner in game. That's really going to distinguish you apart from everybody else that you're playing against. So there's a lot to be completed for here.
And although, you know, obviously the HyperX gear, the cash, the championship banner, all big ticket items. I just want to make a quick call out. Those jerseys being provided by Arma, I've actually looked into those jerseys personally, and they are very high quality. Yeah. They look amazing, and they have a whole bunch of different colors to select from too. So, I mean, all of the players that you're seeing from here on out are going to be getting customized jerseys with, I assume, not their real names on them, but rather the names they use in game, and that is really, really awesome.
Yeah. They're a great product. We appreciate them as a merch provider, and we're gonna get right into it. Game number 3 kicking off. Monty and Josie ready to duke it out. I got to swap sides here as Monty is in blue and Josie is in purple.
Yeah, and actually, so Josie has gone back to that hurricane, that fast fall hurricane. So we'll see how that ends up for him, and Monty seems to be sticking on pretty much the same. I'm actually not seeing any differences, I don't think. Ooh, getting peppered by a little bit of Wildcat fire there.
Yeah, gotta
They're at about a quarter health. Josie is looking healthy.
Gotta keep moving, gotta keep dodging. Can't be sitting still, can't be taking that damage. Wow.
Perfect distraction there with the nade. Really just paid attention and went in at the perfect time. My goodness.
Comes that ellipse again. Good shield work, but just a really great attack from Monty. Really utilizing that ellipse well to pile on top of a hammer nade and a hammer ellipse coming in. Good dodge work coming in to avoid most of the Wildcat, but they do take a touch of it, and the touch of damage could get Josie back into this.
Really could. It really, really could. I mean, heck, even when he was running the Lance R, that Lance Rapid, the fact that it does, you know, 8 damage instead. Oh. Anyways, talking about this match, huge amount of damage coming out on Monty. Definitely giving Josie the lead, and Josie is going to go ahead and take round 1.
That hammer nade was devastating. Absolutely destroyed Monty's HP. The lead they had, everything goes crumbling down in a second. Even in a loadout that otherwise looks like a bullet hell build, there is this threat that you could just get absolutely chunked down in a heartbeat. And so you always got to be aware of how your opponent's playing their build. Are they going for that burst nade? Are they going for the spread? There's all kinds of different ways you can play this out, and Josie definitely doing well to get a good bit of damage onto Monty. Can't quite pile on, though. Monty does dodge the hurricanes and that nade and the weapon tosses, so pretty close on HP for the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I think those hurricanes are really what's doing the work here for Josie, too. I mean, even taking 3 or 4 of those, it's more than a Viper bullet, that's for sure.
Straight shooting the hurricane here. Nice bit of zoning.
Quick 14 damage coming out from Josie.
Oh no, that was the that's that raptor. That's that slow raptor that can really trap the opponent, as Captain has said. And you're seeing that trapping happening here for Monty. They're kind of getting stuck into a spot where those hammer nades can connect for big damage. These ellipses will connect them for good chunks, and a lot of big hitters here on Josie's loadout that are really big threats for Monty. And with 45 seconds left, Monty has to keep kind of weathering the storm and find something.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. And, you know, it's funny because Josie, I would make a comment. Josie is using a lot of their stuff as soon as it comes off of cooldown, but it's actually doing a good job at pushing Monty back. And, you know, heading into these last 30 seconds, he's got to make up some room against Josie here. Oh, they throw the weapon and it gets rid of the Viper. Oh, no. That thing had 2 shots left in it.
That's going to hurt, especially when it's coming down to the wire. 15 seconds left. Game 3 could go into the hands of Jay Josie. It is still a best of 5, so we will have another one after this regardless, but Monty obviously wants to keep this going, pushing it into a round 3. Has to connect here.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes too high.
Oh, great game, though. Fantastic game. I'm a little bit nervous. As a spectator and as a commentator, I'm a little bit on the edge of my seat right now.
It was a great battle for sure. Cap, Monty is back against the wall now. Do we see maybe them go back to that lance that worked against 24? Do they deploy that loadout here, or they keep kind of going with what they've been doing?
I think that they could go back to that loadout. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back though with bullet hell and have a Hurricane 1 attachment. It's been giving them problems. Sometimes when you getting problem from a specific weapon, your first thought is, I'm going to go back and include that. Perhaps they'll bring in a Raptor so they can use that just to shoot out the Hurricanes before they hit him. I think that perhaps he goes back to the 3 Lance, so the Lance Rapide build. It's a great build, but I think it's more effective against 24 just because 24 is shorter than Josie. Lances aren't as good against tall players because tall players can, they can actually just step over them sometimes. And if they're too high that they can step over them, they're a lot easier to dodge under. Just that difference in verticality of a player because of their natural height means that some weapons are more effective than others.
Just about ready to get into the game number 4. I mean, this has been delivering so far today. We got a game 5, round 3. So I can't complain already. But to your point, Oolong, we could be on track for that again here. It's all a matter of time. We'll see if these two, if Monty can pull it out here, or if Josie's going to be advancing on to challenge 24 yet again. I mean, at this stage, even going into our next matchup, if Monty or Josie moves on, I'm excited because I think 24 can be beaten. I've seen the cracks in the armor, so to speak, and I want to see if we maybe get an upset going in, because that really would be the upset. 24 is certainly the favorite. If we had a vote count, I think the majority of players would vote 24. But I'm
not for sure.
Well, something I want to call out real quick before we get into this, Cap. We've got the collision hammer coming out from Josie. What do you think was the thought behind that pick?
It could be that Josie was predicting the Lance Rapide build, and using the collision hammer just means you can shoot it down that triangle of pain that Monty puts out, getting rid of pellets incoming. It's kind of like a slow-moving shield. I don't think that he's run into the loadout he'd hoped with that collision hammer though. But it's not a bad pick.
It wasn't a Health Nova counterplay.
It could have been. I don't think either of these players. I don't see Monty bringing Health Nova, and I don't think Josie would have thought that Monty's going to switch to Health Nova. It's not something he's ever really run. I do like the change from Monty into Luma, though. It kind of puts a bit more pressure on people at the back of their podium, and that's where JJ spent mostly the first 3 games so far.
Oof, all right. Monty taking quite a bit of hits there, but it is going to bring things even. That Luma already doing work for Monty as he was able to get a couple hits early on in that round.
We're seeing really just both of these players stepping forward, dishing out their assault, stepping back, dodging their opponents, and it's all about how that ebb and flow goes. Can you counter your opponent's aggression, or are you just going to try and avoid it? Can you get your Aegis shield up? Can you drop block the spread of that Wildcat? Monty certainly does try all of it, but can't quite avoid a good chunk of that damage coming through. Now as they attack, Josie is able to avoid that spread, and the Luma doesn't connect, so Josie has the lead here going into game 4.
Yep, and you can see Monty really trying to prioritize that Aegis shield for what's going to do the most work for him and what's going to inconvenience Josie the most. Josie going down to the red in the last 10 seconds. The fast fall Hurricanes are coming down, as does the hammer.
Drop blocks the fast fall, has to avoid the spread.
No, he does. He manages to take it in the last seconds.
Josie scooping it up just barely, too. Look at that HP separation is by 1 or 2 points. Josie takes that round, but they take it, and now they're a round away from securing this series. Moving on to the championship, the best of 7 against 24, where anything goes. Oh, we're not quite there yet, though.
Yeah,
to go into
although
our
I
next round.
do definitely think that the switch to the straight Luma is paying off for Monty. I think as far as, forcing your opponent to duck into all the other bullet hell that you've gone ahead and set up, it's very, very good. You can see Josie wasting no time, making sure he gets all of those small points that are going to be mattering in this setup. Oh, he's gonna juggle them. Oh, folks.
Great dodge work from Monty, though. Slapping everything away, shutting down the nade, dodging the ellipse and the combo from the Wildcat. Everything you need to
And
do.
even looked up at the last second. He doesn't manage to dodge all of it, but he manages to dodge a good bit of it. But oh no, 2 pellets from that hammer nade are gonna make their way through in the last minute. He's got about half a health bar that he has to make up here. Oh.
Great dodge work from Luma. Josie looks loose. Josie looks focused. They are doing a great job of avoiding the spread from Monty. They're seeing the future ahead of them and that they could be challenging for the championship. They're so close at this stage. They just need to continue this aggression that they're pushing onto Monty and avoid the Luma. Great shield work. Good dodge work on the backside. I mean, they have a full health bar practically going into 23 seconds left. A lot of work for Monty to do here and has to do it quickly.
Yup, he has to do it quickly, and he also has to continue to dodge everything in the last 15 seconds. He's got a bit of a setup here, though. Maybe he's going to be able to do something with it. He has the Luma behind him. Does he see it?
Nope, he needed all of the Lumas to connect.
Hurricanes.
That's it. Josie is going to take game number 4. They will be advancing on to fight 24 in the finals. I mean, what is going to happen here, right? Because Monty just put on a great showcase against 24, where they managed to almost beat them and move on to the championship round. But then they come here and end up losing to Josie in 4 games, and Josie's looking great. I mean, they looked very loose in that final round, in that final series. They looked focused, dodging, hitting their shots. Is 24 going to be ready for another challenge of a different variety?
You know what? Before, I'm so sorry, Cap. I just want to get in and say one thing. So first of all, huge props to Monty either way. I mean, that was some of the best dodging that I have seen ever in my life. Effective use of the shield, effective use of the drop blocking. It is not easy to do what he just did. The other thing I will say, though, is that Josie has been here before. He has been in brackets. He's been in losers brackets where it has come down to the wire. And you know what? Sometimes that experience by itself can be enough to help, like you said, concentrate, calm yourself down, not get worried, and then go into this final matchup. So I think, regardless of the previous matches, we're forgetting all of that heading forward. I think that it's going to be a very, very even matchup.
Cap, what are your thoughts? You going to go back onto the 24 train? You going to stay on it?
I've been on the Josie. I've been pretty firmly on the Josie train.
I know what I was saying, just because after the 24 and Monty, where do your loyalties lie here?
I mean, both of them represent different games for my organization, so I have no loyalties here. But what I will say is that...
Who's your favorite son?
Yeah.
I think that... I just firstly want to say that Monty has done the European region so proud and really shown that he's, probably 4th best in the world right now, or he is going to be one of the big names in Blaston over the next 3-6 months. He's where 24 was about a year ago, I'd say. I think that's fair, or maybe even 8 months ago. But JJ 24, historically, statistically, you've got to give it to JJ. If 24's never actually won a tournament with JJ in it, I don't believe that's happened. But if he's going to do it, this is going to be it. And if he wins today, he's going to show that he is one of the top best players in the world, 100%. I mean, we already know he's top 3. That no one's disputing that. But this is when he shows that he can compete with the likes of Tess and JJ and actually winning a tournament. I think they're both amazing players, and I think they're both fantastic. I really like both of the players. But I would say that JJ probably will take this.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think I'm just see 24 typing. I think we're gonna get into a room now. 24 isn't feeling fantastic, so who knows? Although that could all be just additional mind games.
Definitely a joke.
Now, I've been thinking about as we go into the last little bit here, the weapons we haven't seen very much of during these, especially these final 2 days as we get even further into, the top 8, the cream of the crop. First one I want to talk about, the Health Nova. We've talked about Health Nova. We've even talked about playing around Health Nova, Cap. We haven't seen much Health Nova at all. What's the deal with that?
Well, Health Nova's good against Double Viper, but we haven't really, apart from the Cornstar game, none of these players have really been dealing with Double Viper. It's kind of a counter pick to that. At high level, also just on this note, high level Bullet Hell is kind of king, to be honest. And I hope that this day has really shown that everyone who said that Bullet Hell is dead or Bullet Hell isn't viable anymore in the current meta is wrong. Okay, and if you've said that, I'm talking about you. Bullet Hell is alive and well.
I am personally awaiting the new Lance R meta that is going to be coming up shortly after this matchup. Another thing we haven't seen that originally was very strong, we've definitely seen a switch away from the bursting Hurricane, the Hurricane 3, to that fast fall Hurricane. I mean, my thought is just more damage, and if you're going to hit, you're going to hit either way. What do you think?
So big fan of Fast Fall Hurricane. It does about snowball's worth of damage. I actually really think that before, everyone liked old Hurricane or split Hurricane because it was slower, because you can kind of throw it up in the air, don't really need to worry about it. But because the game's pace has got faster, it's actually an advantage to have it down faster. You throw it up in the air and then you press. So your opponent doesn't have as much time to react to it. Whereas before, they had too much time to react to it that they kind of forget about it, but also gave players the time necessary in order to set up these big clamps. So I think that really, the 14 damage, yes, that's a big plus. I think it should be 12 according to the attachments. But I think what's really brought it into the meta is the shift in the overall meta, rather than perhaps this extra 2 damage per hit, which
and especially in cases where this is 10 seconds and that's the one weapon that spawned. It does seem like that fast fall, just the faster effectiveness of the weapon, does seem to decide at least some games that we've seen over the past 2 weekends. Yeah.
No, 100%.
Another thing that we haven't seen much of, we actually did see it today in Turbo V Slowed. The Frostbite itself, sitting at 2 seconds, the same as a Raptor. Doesn't do great damage, but does do that nice little blind and does have attachments. We haven't seen any of those attachments at all, huh?
Well, 2 of the attachments make it slower, right? And Snowball, Frostbite is useful because it's fast, you can put pressure on it. So the attachments really that you have open to you is you can either use one of the ones which make it slower, which makes it much easier to dodge, which in high-level competitive Blast On just means it's not really going to work. And then there's the third option, which is Fast Snowball, which is faster, and that is a huge benefit, but it does a third of the damage. And so if you land it every single time, you do 5 damage every 2 seconds. So if you're constantly throwing it off cooldown, that is 40 seconds worth of perfectly landed snowballs non-stop in order to do the full 100 damage you need to take out your opponent. It can be used as pressure, forcing people into more bullet hell kind of pellets. But if I know I'm against fast snowball and I've got a big wave of bullet hell against me and someone throws it at me, as long as I don't freak out, I will just take that 5 damage in order to dodge the 30 I'd be walking into.
Right. Yeah. And all right, we are getting our code. We are starting to load into our last match. The last thing I want to talk about, nade selection. So we did see Josie during those last couple of matches pull out the Majestic Nade. For those of you playing along at home, that is the shortest cooldown nade, but we've continued to see the sheer dominance of Hammer Nade 2 specifically now. As someone who's even been playing just around with base Hammer Nade, comparing it to Hammer Nade 2 and specifically the spread, is it just that 2-point increase in damage that's really deciding it? Or is, there's something else? Is there some other special sauce? Because we've seen that during almost every single matchup, every single player running that attachment.
I'm curious too. why we haven't seen that drill attachment for the hammer nade come in. That was sort of a it showed its head, so to speak, at earlier stages in this tournament, and then since hasn't really come back. I wonder if players maybe had enough time to sort of test it around, play with it a little bit over the course of that week between. I mean, what are your thoughts there too, Cap?
So with regards to drill, I've played around with drill over the last few days now, or last night. Now that I'm at the tournament, I can do fun stuff. It's very good the first time you play someone and they don't know you're playing drill. But the second round where they know you're playing drill, they just know, they can sense where it is and then just either duck a little bit or dodge and get rid of the whole damage. And what you're giving up with drill is you're giving up consistent damage, which is what hammer nade's quite good with. I started running hammer nade 2, attachment 2, because JJ said it was the best attachment for consistent damage, and I just didn't question it. That's just honestly what happened with me. I think it's because it does come out a bit faster. The spread is larger, which means that it's kind of easier to get through the wall of bullets, but it's faster. The 6 damage is really nice. It is a 50% damage increase, so I think it's just more about consistent chip damage, which is why people like it.
Very Hungry Cat says in chat that I'm messing with us just so that Q gets easier, but we are heading into our very last set of the day, a best of 7 between 24 and Josie, and we are starting right off.
Into the action we go. If you're tuning in, you're catching this live on twitch.tv/VRMasterly, Facebook, YouTube, or Horizon Venues. If you don't know what Venues is, you can check out this game live inside your headset on a big movie theater screen. Now is the time to do it for the finals when the big hitters are coming through. And 24 and Josie are duking it out. A good opening for Josie, but 24 bouncing right back.
Yeah, wow. And although that was definitely in 24's favor, I mean, I can clearly see that this is not as in 24's favor as previous days have been. So I fully expect to see. Oh no!
A big connection from 24 there, and maybe hearing your words, 24 comes in with the vengeance.
24 just had to prove me wrong. He was sandbagging just to go ahead and make sure that I was discredited. But okay, Josie going ahead and getting some back. And again, I wouldn't sleep on Josie's dodging abilities either.
A great spread there from 24, perfectly executed, and a good opening there for Josie, but ultimately 24 just hit huge with that big clamp, and it's going to be a matter of Josie avoiding those in the future. That really is going to separate if they'll be able to sort of chip away at 24, because again, they can chip away at 24.
Yeah, the king of clamps going up against someone who has made this build their own. Ooh, okay, they don't get out of it unscathed, but that Aegis shield definitely did some work for them.
Yeah, and that was much better than previous attempts at avoiding that. And so they are, again, adapting, learning how these players like to play the loadouts and trying to adjust accordingly so that they can avoid that spread. And it's up to 24 to vary how they attack. And I think they're trying to throw a little slight variance in. Big damage there onto 24, though, for Josie.
We go.
Another spread, a little bit more chip damage does the trick, but wow, 24 drop blocking, shield blocking, dodging everything.
Even grabbing the weapons to make sure that those extra 2 points of damage weren't factored in.
And at this stage, Josie can play this two ways, right? They can kind of loosely put out an attack pattern onto 24 and just try and threaten a little bit, or they can kind of save their attacks for when 24 is trying to apply the pressure, try and disrupt 24's attacks, really just play defense because they have a comfortable lead right now.
Yeah, and that was a great call out, especially because that's exactly what Josie goes for, although the combo's coming out. Oh, but they managed to get through it fairly unscathed.
They can afford a little bit of damage. That's the beauty of their lead right now. They can take a little bit, so they can prioritize that in their minds. I can afford to take shots, and they can afford to attack 24 and take round 2.
Yeah. Ooh. My goodness.
We're into the finals, Oolong. It's here. Josie and 24 are duking it out. It is round 3 of game 1. These two seemingly equal in skill level, duking it out here, putting everything to the test as 24 tries to bounce back, but Josie has the lead.
Yeah. Yep. Little bit early to make any calls just yet, but man, You know, it is really just going back and forth with chip damage. And I think exactly what you said last round, it definitely rings true, especially as these matches get closer and closer. When you have the health lead, you can focus a little bit more on essentially disrupting your opponent's combo. And, you know, in a worst case scenario, you might get out of some damage. In a best case scenario, in the process of trying to hit you, your opponent might end up taking more damage running into your bullets. So, you know, Josie being able to get this lead and keep this lead, that might be the secret sauce that he's needed.
I mean, there's so many things that are happening too. Like right there, Josie just denying a hammer nade amongst a full spread of bullets coming at them. They're using their charged hammer to take out the hammer nade before it connects.
Yeah.
I mean, really good plays coming in here that Josie is threading through what is a really good effort from 24. They are clamping onto Josie here, and Josie is denying in a lot of different ways with the shield, with the charge hammer. It's just impressive to see right now. Let's see if they can keep the pressure up though. 30 seconds left, and they do get a little bit more damage, a lot of more damage.
Wow, and now the lead looks much more solid for Josie, especially the fact they just came off a set of games. I mean, so did 24 for sure, but yeah, wow, 15 seconds left on the clock, and I don't know if 24 is even going to be able to get the momentum here in the last couple seconds. Oh, they ain't
more
dead.
Damage. Yeah, they're not. 5 seconds left. The Hurricane may fall in time, but that hammer's not going to detonate there. And yeah, this is going to be game 1 to Josie. The second loss that 24, the third loss, I should say, that 24 has felt. And it goes into Josie's hands. Do we go to a loadout swap? We do, of course. We're going to get loadout swaps every round, right, Cap? I mean, we should expect every round to get loadout swaps, right?
I would imagine so. One thing which really interested me was that neither of these players have brought either a Luma or a Viper Ellipse into their loadout, which is, in this patch, it tends to, at least I consider it to be a fairly, I wouldn't say key, like you definitely can win without it, but it definitely does help, that extra pressure to, exert pressure on your opponent. There is a lot to putting pressure on your opponent within Blaston. And so I would expect that either of these two players might pick up a Viper Ellipse. I kind of, part of me thinks that 24 will go Curve Luma, because I think just from personally playing and also seeing 24 play against JJ struggles against Curve Luma dodging a little bit more than perhaps he would against Viper Ellipse. Mostly because he's had a year of practicing Viper Ellipse curves. Luma's still relatively fresh. On the other hand, it could just be that both of them think that they don't need that in the loadout, and both of them do probably just know more about this game than me. So, I'm prepared to be wrong. But that's my prediction, that 24 will bring back a Curve Luma and JJ a Viper Ellipse.
Let's see. I definitely think that, these little differences in help, he could help essentially widen that gap when he does manage to hit, if he does manage to bring those high damage weapons like the Luma, like what we've seen. But no, yeah. I think he's sticking to his disagree. I mean, no pun intended, he's sticking to his gun. Yeah, no change from 24. And from Josie, also no change. So maybe this was a room swap. I mean, both these players are on the West Coast, so surely there would be no latency difference perceptible whatsoever, right, Cap?
They should be playing on the same server in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Hold habits die hard. Or maybe this was just all intense mind games from before.
That's yeah.
We have to factor that in because
frustration, maybe exactly that.
They're just trying to bait out a weapon swap, trying to bait out something different. It's the mind games that go on here are plentiful, and I'm curious to see what we get between these two going into this next round. We're not quite ready to start yet, but I'll go ahead and give them the ready, and they will be diving into the action here for round 1 of game 2. We do have a side swap. If you didn't notice, Jay Josie on the left, 24 on the right. And if you are just tuning in, this is a best of 7. This is the grand finals. This is for first place in season 1 of the Blaston Championship. This is for a good chunk of points to go into that championship series. This is for the championship banner. for HyperX hardware, for cash. There is a lot on the line here this afternoon between these two players, and they certainly are the best of the best in this league. They have been showcasing it here today, and now we get to see what we get in game number 2.
Wow, a clean start from both of these two as 24 drop blocks his way out of Josie's entire combo. Gonna slide across the ground and only take a bit of damage. Ooh, all right. And, you know,
Crazy.
going back to what Cap said before this match, too, I am really surprised, especially because 24 was able to land those Lumas in previous matchups. I'm a bit surprised to see that he didn't even want to bring it during this one, but as I've said throughout this whole set, I feel like the further along you go, the more relevant chip damage is gonna become. Ooh, there we go, landing a good little bit from that hammer ellipse clamp. Josie being brought down to about 3/4 health.
Yeah, maybe just foregoing that hurricane is paying off for 24 here with a little bit more focus on the immediate attack and spread onto Josie. They have just a little bit extra of that bullet hell, but a little less of the zoning, and so I wonder if that is what's contributing to this chipping that they're doing onto Josie right now.
Yeah, well, there you go. Josie already going ahead and landing a hammer there, or I'm sorry, a hurricane there. And yeah, I was wrong. 24 did make that change for the charge hammer, I believe, is where that swap came in instead of the hurricane. So yeah, I think exactly right. Trying to extend this combo a little bit, and honestly, I think put a bit more pressure on Josie's shield. And so far in this round, it's paying off.
I think I saw 24 almost roll on their back at one point here in their dodge work. I mean, it is ridiculous. They're doing somersaults on the ground when they're dodging. Big damage for Josie in the final 5 seconds. Can they avoid the spread? No, they can't. They only take a little bit, though, and they still have the lead in HP. Josie is going to take round 1 in game 2.
Wow. Yeah, and 24 was doing really, really good, but that last little push from Josie, I think Josie has learned how 24 is dodging and really focusing on, honestly, putting pellets down on the ground. I saw someone earlier in chat mention an avalanche nade. That could potentially make the ground even harder to dodge on for 24.
I think Josie would go down the route of a majestic nade over an avalanche nade if he's trying to do that kind of strat, to be honest.
There
Good
we
dodge
go.
roll from
Fantastic.
24.
Fantastic game knowledge there from 24. That was perfect. No notes.
Yeah, really quite impressive. And I mean, it's got to be slowly wearing on 24 a little bit, though. You know, to have this bullet hell build coming at them here, to have to go to a game 5 up against blanking Monty. You know, there certainly is some stamina questions, but Josie's has played 9 rounds already.
Yeah.
If not more, 9 games, excuse me, already before this. So they're the one that's the stamina should be the question, but they are playing nicely here today against 24. They are applying pressure where it needs to be applied. They're hammering with those Raptor ellipses in particular. Those are really doing nice damage for them today.
Oh no, he can't quite grab it. It comes out just a second late. Oh, and Josie is still going to take some damage, but I have a feeling that if that Raptor ellipse came out just a bit sooner, would have been even more. Misses the nade. Woo! But then it's stuck out of the way of the rest of it. Yeah, and honestly, you know, the physical effects, but also kind of the psychological effects. I wonder if having to go to a game 5 did affect them a little bit, especially just because, you know, for most of this whole tournament, this whole season, they've been fairly unquestioned, even by Josie. Oh?
Josie's taking game 2. They take 2 rounds in a row, and they have a solid lead. Now, obviously, this is, again, a best of 7. Maybe not so obviously. So there is a long road ahead of us. And to go back to the stamina point, Cap, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. Do you think that, you know, 24 may be able to start to get a slight advantage as we go deeper and deeper into this series, as Josie has to dodge this bullet hell that they've been deploying? They're wearing away on this stamina. Could that be a factor here as because again, we're going a lot longer than we had with the best of 7.
Well, that is true. I mean, if you look at the builds, you can see the only difference between them in that last game was that Josie has Hurricane 1 and 24 has Hammer Ellipse. So it's a bit easy. I suppose it's almost easier to dodge the Hurricane 1. But I don't think that stamina is really going to be a question for either of these players. I think it's just about essentially who wants it more, confidence and experience, which is why I'm still giving it to JJ. But 24 has certainly shown he can beat JJ in games, and I think that bringing out a curved Luma can really, put a little bit more pressure on JJ. He just needs to land 1 or 2 Lumas each game, and that can make the difference to turn those losing rounds into winning rounds. So I don't think by any means 24 is out of it. He's as you guys keep saying, he is a dominant force within Blaston. But we are witnessing JJ in a tournament finals, and he never sleeps in a tournament finals.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's a really, really good point too, because again, we've actually seen this specific, and we told ourselves we wouldn't talk about the past, but here I am bringing up the past again. This matchup has played out several times, and 24 has won. I mean, I wouldn't say single-handedly. It's always been close, but previously, even in this bracket, it was a shutout.
Yeah.
However, Josie's made it overall to more tournament finals. And again, that sort of mentality that you have to come all the way back from loser's bracket and still go ahead and take the win, that is something that requires, much like getting into queue and just going and using your loadout, it takes practice to be able to maintain that pressure. A lot of people right now are saying in chat, they're wondering, hey, 24, where's that Luma? And we might see it here. But just the ability to not second guess your build and go with what you know, and what has worked for you before, I think that takes a little bit of practice to be able to calm yourself and say, okay, I've practiced, I've prepped for this point, I know what I'm doing. And I feel like Josie has that. I think that 24 has it too, but it's definitely a little bit rougher for them.
Also, just to note here though, if 24 wins this game and wins this tournament, this will be his first tournament win ever. So if JJ wins this game, this will be JJ's, 15th or something.
Well, not this game. They have another one after this too. They have to win 4.
I mean in the total match.
Yeah,
what
okay.
I'm talking about. But for 24, I mean that's a lot of mental pressure because you're so close to something you've been working for so long.
Yeah.
I can tell you the pressure would definitely get to me. I have a whole history of choking under pressure, and I don't have anywhere near this level of pressure that I assume that 24 would be under. And he's against JJ, his teammate, who is, I think, really. I get the impression they've done a lot of work together, and.
And 24 going ahead and actually doubling down on the bullet hell, bringing out that slow hammer nade. We haven't seen that in a hot second.
Nice.
Okay, and there we go. It looks like it's paying off, and in the first turn, Josie's going to go ahead and take quite a bit of damage with this little cheeky weapon throw.
Yeah. Actually tried to throw the weapon at the fast fall Hurricane as well, but couldn't quite hit it. And right now, 24 does have the lead coming in to game number 3. After a tough starting series, they're doing a good job here of chipping on their the health bar of the Josie, but they did suffer a Hurricane there, and so damage is almost equalized, if not in favor of Josie now, as we go into the back half of round 1.
Yeah, and actually something interesting too, Josie has now taken off that Hammer Ellipse. So even though 24 has kept it on their build, Josie's actually looking pretty lean. There's nothing except for the Hammer Nade on their loadout that's anything more than 5 seconds. That's going to let them put the pressure on a lot more consistent.
Right now, 24 back against the wall. Definitely doesn't want to lose this one and really have their back against the wall, because right now they have a little bit of wiggle room, right? They can afford to get a win here and stop this bleeding that's happening right now, because Josie is running away with things. 2 games to 0 right now, and 24, you've seen, certainly capable of taking games against Josie. It's just a matter of executing, and right now they are executing it a little bit. They have a slice of health left. It's all it's going to take is a gun to get thrown at him, and Josie's going to take another round. 24 hasn't gotten a round from Josie yet in this matchup.
My goodness. And again, I have to wonder how much the mentality's playing in here. I mean, you know, it's tournament finals. They've both come so far, and, you know, 24 not really being questioned for this whole season. And now, you know, I have to wonder if it's coming up against him mentally of just, hey, he had to go up against a pretty heavy set against Monty, and now the third, you know, the second, maybe possibly going on a third loss into this set, he's got to be toughening his mental state up. He's got to keep his eye on the ball, and he's got to be keeping in mind that he's got to make the comeback here.
Yeah, 24 is being tested for the first time this tournament, so let's see if they can weather this storm, so to speak. And right now, they are at a slight disadvantage in HP, but they managed to chip a little bit onto Josie, trying to bait that hammer nade down beneath, but it ends up connecting with a couple of bullets, chips the HP bar of 24 down to half. And now they're going to try and put on the full attack. Everything coming down onto Josie, but that slow hammer nade not exactly connecting like maybe they were hoping it would.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we talked about it a little bit, the shift from, you know, having everything go slow and, you know, really clouding your opponent's play area, to the shift to, you know, quick firing weapons, things that can be effective almost immediately on your opponent's play area. And, you know, I still think 24 is doing better, but again, I'm wondering, hey, where's that Luma? Where are those Luma plays at? But he's definitely working well with what he's got. It's just maybe, again, those jitters, and a lot of players, when they get nervous, will go and try things that they think are effective, but they haven't practiced. But we're going to have to see in the last 10 seconds. That's a very good push, actually, from 24.
Vital for that to connect there. They now have to avoid everything, though. They can't afford any damage to connect in there. It does. The slow hammer doesn't hit. And around 6 of 6 goes into Josie's hands in this finals. They are running away with this series. I anticipate we go into a loadout swap. What could it mean? What is the mindset here? Is Josie about to sweep 24 in the finals?
I would not be surprised if Josie wins the next match. And I just want to say, I don't even know if it's a mental thing for 24. I think there's no shame in getting swept by Josie in the Grand Tournament finals. It's happened to pretty much most players who've made it to Grand Finals against him. He is, you know, in my opinion, one of the 2 top best players in the world, and 24 is a close third. But I would really like to see 24 bring out that curve Luma. I know everyone's saying it, and I'm sure that there's a reason why he's not, and it could just be that he knows more than I do. I'm not saying by any means it's a mistake, but if I'm in his situation, that's what I'm going to. Because his curve Luma is fantastic, and JJ, I've seen struggle to dodge curve Luma more than he would struggle to dodge other things necessarily. And it really fits into bullet hell as well.
What do we have coming in is the question as we prepare for our potentially final game of the evening here. The final game of season 1. The final opportunity for one of these 2 players to take a win here. Final opportunity for Josie. I mean, let's see. The curve Luma is there for 24. Is it going to be the deciding factor?
There we go. Finally.
He's gone back off that slow hammer nade back to the hammer 2. So obviously he doesn't think that was really helping him enough. And he swapped out his hammer for the curve Luma, which I think is a very good choice.
Yeah,
and Josie is sticking with his guns.
Now,
as you say.
A thing I do want to point out about the builds that Josie keeps bringing. So the difference in cooldown is not that much. I did actually just do the calculations, and taking the Aegis shield out of the question, it was 18 to 19 seconds. So realistically, that's 21 to 22 seconds. But Josie's spread, hammer, Raptor Ellipse, Wildcat, Aegis shield, 4 of his weapons have a 3-second cooldown, and the other 2 weapons are 4 seconds and 5 seconds respectively for the Hurricane and the Hammer Nade. So much more consistent on the cooldowns, and something that you said earlier, Nightfire, where, you know, when Josie does get these leads, the ability for him to just put down the consistent pressure and just continuously disrupt 24, or in a best case scenario, get some cheeky damage in as 24 is trying to set up their combos. That actually might be what Josie's trying to play here.
Let's see what we get as we dive in to game number 4 of this best of 7. If 24 wants to come back, it's going to mean they need to lock in 4 game wins in a row starting now. Let's see if they can start it now. As Josie applies the pressure, 24 ends up avoiding it all and comes out on top in the first 15.
Wow. Dang, and
Jeez,
you
the
know what?
dodge
So
work.
sorry, folks. Worst time. My mic got a little bit excited and disconnected because we're just excited for this match. But yeah, I mean, starting things off, heading into the first minute, and these two are still looking very, very healthy. I haven't really seen that Luma come out almost at all for 20. Oh, there we are. There we are.
We're not seeing any Viper coming in here between these two either. We didn't see it in the semis either. I guess the third place match either. So interesting to see it be so lacking here. But either way, 24 with the Luma seems to be a little bit more successful on chipping away.
The taking out of the hammer nade and then immediately using it to drop block the Luma. He makes it look easy, folks. Wow. And
Nice
again, just
dodge.
finding the one place where you can stand, doing those mental calculations to try and figure out where those clamps are going to be going to. Ooh, 24 almost jumps directly into a charge hammer.
There's that nade. The Luma pushes them down to the bottom. They do take a little bit of that damage from that nade, but not a lot. It's only a slight amount. And with 15 seconds left,
Oh, the
slight amounts
Hurricanes!
are
The
important.
Hurricanes!
Luma gets shielded. Any damage? No. Josie has the lead going into this. 24 stepping back, recognizing their fate, that they are a round away from being knocked out into second place here. Josie a round away from taking Season 1 championship.
Yeah, and you know what? There's no Vipers, but those 2 Hurricanes hitting might as well be a Viper in this case.
Exchanges leave both players almost even in HP. Slight lead for Josie here, but it is slight. Every little weapon toss really at this point matters, but 24. I mean, I imagine going to play this one a little bit more defensively, although they do have to do some damage. They have to apply the pressure. They just also have to avoid those Hurricanes. Those Hurricanes really detrimental. The 24's HP bar. Obviously, a Luma connecting would do some good work for 24 as well, but Josie is not making it easy.
No, he is not, especially considering that he's really reserving his weapons for drop blocking too. And he pops the shield, honestly, not off of much. Just off of that Raptor Ellipse Wildcat combo. Ooh, okay. And you can see Josie too, just being sure to be at where he needs to be on his play area, stepping back as much as he can when he needs to dodge, and then dodging forward when the full combo starts to go off.
I almost
20 seconds
wonder.
left, and maybe a 15 health difference. One Luma. Ooh, okay, that wasn't a Luma, but
I wonder if Josie now maybe feeling the pressure themselves. They are just a round away from winning this, and with 30 seconds left, they don't seem to be playing as aggressive as they had been up against 24. 24s, they've been able to sit back, defend, avoid the attacks, meanwhile continue to apply the pressure here and there. And so for now, with 15 seconds left, 24 has the lead. They need this round. They cannot lose a single round this game, or they are done. And with that pressure on the line, can they avoid the spread? They do.
They
Great
can!
dodge work there. That's going to lock them in round 2.
great game. Yeah, and honestly,
The first round, they won.
That thing about, Josie, not being nearly as aggressive, I think that's the sheer effect of the Luma itself. Anytime he steps forward, he might be taking 20 to 40 damage, and when these rounds are all being decided by tiny chips of damage, he can't afford that at all.
With that said, I'd like to take back everything I said about JJ struggling with Luma. Like, he's just been really good at exceeding with it this last 2 rounds.
Yeah, I firmly believe that if a 24 season opportunity to go in with that Luma and get some damage, they're going to be able to capitalize on that. They just are so well versed, even with the curve.
Jay Josie with a nice lead here going into our third round of game number 4. 24 has to win this round, has to push it into a game 5. And
oh no!
something happening, trying to distract Josie, trying to draw their attention behind them. There are deer running behind them or something, but there's no distracting Jay Josie. They stay locked in, focused. They've been locked in since the start of this series, since really game 3, the start of today, where they had to battle out of the losers bracket. They managed to do it all the way here. They have a lead against 24, a healthy lead at that, as 24 almost goes down below half health, and there's only a minute now separating Josie away from a championship.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, and here comes the push. There we go! There's the push from 24. That's exactly what he needed. I actually, now, okay, well now I think he does have the lead. I got a little bit excited there because I thought he took it, but it wasn't until that last little part of the push came through. And it's clear to me what 24 is looking to do with this build. He's looking to set up with the nade and then go in with the Luma, but Josie's really reserving that charge hammer to ensure that it gets taken out. Okay.
Huge dodge work from 24 to avoid the spread. They're going to get an attack, I think. Josie's going to get an opportunity to apply some pressure here. They're going to get the nade. The Wildcat's going to come in. 24 gets hit by a bullet. That could be the difference here in this matchup. That could be it. No, it's not. Oh my gosh, come on. You can't keep me on the edge of my seat any more than this. 24 is going to take game number 4 by literally 1 or 2 HP.
We have to bring in the refs here because that was so close. And I mean, hey, again, you know what? Even just taking that weapon, even just taking the Luma seems to have dissuaded a little bit of Josie's aggression, just enough to give 24 some breathing room.
Wow, 24 hanging in there just barely. Now we go into an immediate game number 5. No time between, no loadout swaps. Both players feeling comfortable. Obviously, that game couldn't be much closer.
Whoa.
But now 24 finds themselves at a disadvantage again. They've been in this place before, though. They've been literally in a much worse place than this. They actually have a round or 2 buffer if they can't come back here, but great dodging from Josie.
Yeah, and the drop block of the curve loom, again, he's making it look easy. It is not easy to not only drop block a fast-moving and very tiny projectile, but also one that could have quite literally any number of trajectories.
I think that curve Luma is the hardest weapon to drop block.
Yeah.
Other than like Majestic, obviously.
Only the truly good players can drop block the Majestic.
2 Wildcats connecting onto 24. That certainly hurts. Here comes the full spread, the full clamp. That is successful. Almost back into this is 24. If a Luma connects here, that separates them in HP, but it doesn't. Still plenty of time with 40 seconds on the clock. Josie also trying to clamp down onto 24. They've been connecting onto that Wildcat too. A lot of damage coming through there.
Yep. And you can see Josie just getting ready, trying to use that charge hammer to prioritize the high value targets, that hammer nade. Oh. Oh man.
15 seconds. I don't know if they're gonna have. It's gonna come down to the Luma.
I don't know, but
No Luma. The bullets aren't gonna get there in time, I don't think.
Oh my gosh. But that was beautiful by 24 too. That was incredible. And Josie just dodged it.
Yeah.
Those were all headed right towards Josie, and somehow he managed to find the keyhole he needed. And this is yet again set point for Josie.
Yeah, I mean, every game here is a tough battle for 24 from here on out because every moment is a moment where they could lose their chance at a championship. And they certainly don't want that, as they have been playing so good throughout the course of all of regular season, all through this tournament bracket. They 3-0'd Jay Josie to kick things off. They need to 3-0 them now to bring this into a game 7. We'll see if they can start that comeback now, though. In round 2, in game number 5, they do have a lead.
Yeah, they took a pretty, I mean, I would say a dominant lead. It's not too much, but considering the context of this matchup, that is all the lead that they need. They It puts them in a position where they can definitely focus more on disrupting Josie. Oh no, but they end up stepping out of bounds very slightly. They're still in the lead, but it's a lot closer now.
Blows being exchanged.
Oh, and there's the Luma!
First Luma shot of the game.
First Luma shot of the game.
Tries to even Luma a hammer nade. That seems a little crazy to me. That would be a
then
wild
you can
shot
do it.
to see come through. With a Luma arc?
Yeah, it's actually more easier than you think because if you can shoot, it's quite easy to shoot a Luma straight if you move the bow rather than the drawstring.
Maybe for 24. I certainly couldn't do that, folks.
Full attack coming through. More damage onto Josie. 30 seconds left. 24 looking healthy, but this is only round 2. They have to win another one to take us into another game where they have to win another round. It is a lot of winning ahead for 24. Let's see if they can do it. Josie takes more damage. 15 seconds, and I don't think the loadouts are going to load in time.
I don't think he realized that 24 was going to fire there. I thought he was just getting ready to dodge. Oh man, all right.
We're going
24
into it.
might stay alive for a little bit longer.
Round number 3 of game number 5. 24's health goes down to kick things off, and Josie takes the lead. I think the first time Josie's had a lead at the start of these rounds in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, they're both tired. They're both sweating. I mean, you know, even with all these amazing, fantastic drop blocks that Josie has thrown out, you know, it doesn't get any easier as the games go on, and the execution here has to be flawless because any chip of damage could be what determines it. He's so close. He's just got to bring it home now.
Wow, on the cusp. Series point for Josie. A minute left. Equal health bars. And I say that as a Luma connects there for 24.
The last minute, too. Both of them are still well above half health, but yeah, that Luma did not do 24 any favors.
Oh, the floor
I'm sorry, it didn't do Josie any favors.
The floor work from 24, dodging on the floor and shooting while they're on the floor. I mean, I need to see what that looks like in real life. I saw someone asking for that in game too. Or in chat. I would love to see that.
Oh, still manages to hit the hand. Man, and I have to wonder. You know, we talked about it before. I now have to wonder if this is Josie getting a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Blindly dodges the charge hammer, and 24 takes their second match.
Do we go to a loadout swap now? No?
No!
I'd like to see a Viper
No!
from Josie. I think that's what he needs to keep 24 off the front of the stage. But
We've come so close to wins. You know, Josie has nearly locked it in twice with this loadout. They've come out strong twice at the start of these games. They have the lead again at the start of round 1, going into game number 6 now, but it is game 6. Things are going the distance here, and 24 is staying in it for now. As I say that, Josie continues to extend their lead further and further here as we get into the 30 seconds of this game.
Yeah, very nice shield there from Josie. Again, I'm starting to notice things like he was taking out the stuff with the charge hammer before, taking out that hammer nade specifically, and now he just kind of has to focus on doing stuff on reaction. They're starting to get tired. The cracks start to show for both of these players.
Yep. Wildcat coming in there, and they're not taking breaks between either. They could go to loadout swaps and fake them out and and that could be used as the time to take a breather. You know what I mean? A little bit, you know, but they're not utilizing that. Instead, they're just duking it out, round after round, punch after punch, blow after blow, round 3 after round 3, and right now, with the 45 seconds left, Jay Josie has a very slight lead.
Yep. Oh, nice grab there. Oh, that pretty much shut down Josie's push, and 24 is going to get a chance to even things up. Oh, yep.
Wow, a huge
30 seconds left on the clock, and a huge chunk taken off of Josie. Are they going to be able to get it back? There's 10 damage.
Pushes 24 to the ground nicely and slams with those Raptor ellipses pretty well. The Wildcat coming through, 24, 10 seconds, so they have the lead. Who has it? I can't tell.
I think they do. I think they do. Oh, they definitely do now.
The final bit of damage dealt, and 24 has secured the first round. The first time they've taken round 1 in any of these games. Jay Josie has been dominating all the way up through to game 4, but now 24 has found it deep within them to battle back. Can they take another round and push us to a game 7 in this series? That's the question in everyone's mind right now. That's the question Josie is unfortunately thinking about as this pressure continues to mount.
Yeah, absolutely. And the pressure is continuing to mount for sure. I mean, again, you see the chips. Now it's a matter of who can actually, summon up their willpower and be able to do this. I mean, we're probably at, 20 minutes of play already, of continuous play during this session. So they're both tired. They're both going to have to just do the best with the stamina they have.
This battle here as we get down to the final minute, 24 with a slice of a lead, but they have it. Nonetheless, they can play defensively. They have the option. They're not going to as they apply the pressure, and great dodges from Jay Josie as they pop up from the ground, dodge those Luma arcs coming in. They're going to continue to try and attack. They're going to continue to look for success on their pinches and their clamps, and eventually they do find success on that clamp. Big damage onto 24.
I can't make any predictions about this match anymore at all. Oh my goodness. And part of me has to think, did 24 save bring that curve Luma until he knew that the pressure would be on? Was this all the most elaborate mind game possible? Oh, there we are. All right, it's not gonna give him the lead though. It's not gonna give him the lead. I'm going crazy.
It has to work for it to be good mind games, and right now Josie is still battling it well. They do have a lead. They've chipped even more damage onto 24 with 10 seconds left. That's not going to be a lot of time. That might be enough time for one more attack from 24.
Oh no, they dropped the nade.
Yeah, the nade doesn't detonate. That is what they needed. We are going to another round 3. We are not taking it to game 7 yet.
I think out of all the players I wouldn't want to try and mind game, it would probably be Josie, because he's probably one of the strongest mentally resilient players I've played against. The only other player I could think of would maybe be like someone like Rudy, who's got that MMA background. But JJ's a rock.
And again, we're seeing the drop block of the Hurricanes as they're going down.
24 definitely been showcasing that as a way of deterring those Hurricanes. Also, obviously, dodging them a good means of avoiding them, but big damage to come through if they don't pay attention and really focus on nullifying those Hurricanes and being aware of their presence as Jay Josie chips away on HP. If Josie wins this round, they take the championship. Every time they've been this close, they haven't been able to finalize and push through. 24 is dancing. They're so relaxed. They're feeling so good. They are not stressed about this match. They are almost getting to the point where they could get knocked down to second, but still, they continue to battle on.
Maybe they should be just a little bit stressed out about the match.
That was amazing dodgy from JJ there.
Oh no, only weapon throw damage going off. Only weapon throw damage. Josie continuing to chip down on 24.
Yeah.
45 seconds left on the clock. 24's gotta get it back now.
30, yeah, this is it for 24. They have to find something. The Lumas don't connect. The hammer nade gets fully dodged. Bits and pieces of damage are coming through with the weapon tosses, but at the end of the day, it isn't quite enough. They're going to have one more good attack to push Josie down to half health, and they're going to have to orchestrate it well. They're going to need everything to come together for them. They're going to need to continue to dodge the full attack. They deny the Hurricane there, or excuse me, the hammer nade nicely, and they come in for the full press. They do big damage. They connect with the Luma. They're back into it. 5 seconds. Is Josie going to have anything to do anything up against 24? No, they're not. Josie doesn't win it. 24 takes us to a game number 7.
Why are you doing this to me, guys?
And it just got that by itself makes the Luma absolutely worth it here. And the last seconds being able to pull that much of an upset.
I mean,
oh no,
look,
okay, we're going to the one last weapon swap.
I
Oh my
understand there's
goodness.
clamoring in the stands right now that this is scripted, and frankly, I don't know that we could have scripted it this good. I mean, for that to come down to literally the final 5 seconds where 24 combines everything they need to at the moment they need to, otherwise they are getting eliminated. They're getting knocked down to second place. I mean, unbelievable perseverance there, and.
Please clip it.
We're
Please clip
gonna.
it.
We are actually gonna be taking the players are taking a brief break because
Okay.
Josie was
Charge
not
break.
anticipating this to go the full distance, and so that gives us some time here at the desk to analyze. We've been blasting through games. I'm sure Captain has plenty of thoughts on the mind about the loadouts, about why we didn't see swaps. I mean, what happened there? What went on in those last 3 games, Cap?
I think basically Josie thought that he could win without doing a loadout swap because every single game went to 3 rounds, and 24's Luma just had the extra effect. I think that I know I've said it before, but I'd like to see Josie bring out a Viper Ellipse or a Luma of his own, because without having that, that allows 24 to get on the front of his podium. And obviously, the closer you are to your opponent with a high damage weapon, the more likely you are to hit them. Less time for them to dodge. Also, with Luma curves, it does make it easier to hit those Luma curves because if you're shooting them from the back of your podium, it changes the arc so much, so you can't do quite as tight curves. Or if you are doing big round curves, you've got to do them slower. Whereas at the front, you can do them as fast as you want and have them very tight because they've got less vertical distance or lengthways distance that they've got to travel. Without a Viper Ellipse, 24 has full range just to stay there and aim as well as he can. If Josie's got a Viper Ellipse in his loadout, as soon as 24 gets to the front of his podium, Josie can just pick it up and just smack him for 30 damage. And this is something a lot of players think about when going in. They think about, if my player likes to stand at the front of their podium, I want to bring a Viper Ellipse to stop that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Josie didn't really have an answer to that level of aggression except for the Wildcat Raptor Ellipse combo, which, I mean, he was utilizing there, but again, also requires him to step to the front of his podium. And, when a Luma can do 60 damage within, a couple seconds, it can be very, very hard for you to, weigh out that risk within your mind, especially the Raptor Ellipse does work really well on the back of the podium. There were definitely also a lot of times where 24 went to this, send up the hammer nade and send out the Luma to try and mess Josie up. And in the first round, Josie was keeping that charge hammer on hand, was really focusing on the hammer nade, and then just as this continues, and we get tired, and it's not always about execution. It is about execution when you are getting that tired. I think that combo slowly came more effective. And, it wasn't even until like game 3 that one of those Lumas actually landed. But from the very beginning, there was definitely a change in how Josie had to play since that Luma was on the board.
Yeah, just having it in his loadout just adds pressure. Pressure which JJ has to respond to. Because if JJ plays the exact same way he played in games 1, 2, and 3, he's going to be getting tagged by a lot more Luma shots than we've seen him eat so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I think that maybe it's wishful thinking, but there are a lot of tools he could bring to shut down. I think the Viper Ellipse is probably the most obvious one. But especially if it's that aggression, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring here. Maybe even a Tundra, possibly.
Okay, so no. I do think he might bring a Frostbite though. JJ Frostbite.
Yeah.
We all know how powerful that is.
Yeah. Or even just a straight Luma. Honestly, even if he isn't too comfortable with the curve, we've seen a lot of players. I mean, heck, just today alone, bring that straight Luma, using it to great effectiveness. It's gonna be a mixture of what Josie thinks can go ahead and counter what 24 brings, and also what he's actually comfortable with playing, because he needs to be executing at the very top of his game.
Genuinely, I think that straight Luma is arguably the best Luma. No attachment Luma. The reason I like Luma is because it's really balanced for the attachments. I don't think it's one, you can say one is better than the other, although in my opinion it's between curve and straight. But it's just really, it kind of comes down to what players feel comfortable with. Because once you've learned a certain way of pulling the bow, I've switched to straight loomer in a set before, and I've watched the recording, and everything just goes to the left, to the right, doesn't go on to the opponent's podium, because I'm just like assuming I can curve it and missing everything. It's very embarrassing. Match versus Turbo, if anyone really wants to see me humiliate myself.
Do you see VR Ferret saying Josie going to bring laser? Do you think we're going to see any lances? I don't think we're going to. I think this is pretty solidly bullet hell versus bullet hell, and the only thing we might see is a high DPS weapon like a Viper or a Luma coming out.
Yeah, we may have a kind of trying to figure out the situation here on the delay for our final round. I know a lot of people wondering, where is this game 7 coming? Obviously, we have the charge break going on now. I think we may have to cut to a brief intermission while we try and sort some technicalities out. And when we come back, we will be here for the finals, the finale, the potential last game of this. We may replay that round. I don't know what happened. We have to look into the technicalities of it, but we very well could be coming into Game 7 here. I'm anticipating us to be coming back to Game 7, so don't go anywhere. When we come back, the finals of Season 1, you're not going to want to miss it.
Sober up and the feeling has changed and I gotta go home. You follow me through my heart into my soul. You gonna see it in my arms. I realize something went wrong. Sober up and the feeling has changed and I gotta go home. You follow me through my heart into my soul. You fall asleep in my arms, and I realize something went wrong.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for game number 7. The decision made. It is finalized. That round was locked in, and we are advancing on to what could be the most hyped series we've ever watched in Blaston. I mean, Ula and Cap, you guys certainly have more tournaments under your belt, but I just don't know that it can get more exciting than this, with a comeback from 3-0. Josie in a dominant fashion. I mean, Oolong, we're almost there. We're almost to the final round.
We're almost there. Yeah, the Luma reverse sweep. We were talking about it a little bit before the break, but it seemed like that's all that 24 needed to get the upper hand. But Josie's got a little bit of rest, a possible weapon swap. I haven't actually seen the things yet. I think my spectator client glitched out. But you know, anything could happen in these last rounds. But either way, we're only gonna get one more game to see it.
It comes down to all this, Cap, and I mean, you've experienced the pressure of playing in this tournament. You know what it feels like to have that little extra level of, butterflies in the stomach. What do you imagine it's like for these players right now?
I have not experienced the level of pressure these guys are under. I wish I had, but no. These guys have lots of expectations on their shoulders from both sides of the community. Lots of people want to know who's going to win this matchup, and this is for all the marbles. I come into it as someone who's too old, never been a top 10 contender, just doing as best as I can and seeing what happens. These guys are the favorites going into the tournament, so I think they have a lot more pressure than me. But what I will say is that, just take a deep, both players should just be taking a deep breath and don't panic. I think that's even at top level.
No, that's
just
really
panic.
good advice.
Breathing exercise is vital in moments like this where you can really control your heart rate. I imagine it is elevated for both of these players, especially after the rounds that they have played. They were been thoroughly cardio based. I mean, they are getting very physical here, Oolong, in this matchup so far.
Yeah. Yep. And I do see a couple people in chat. We did have to switch rooms. Josie had the pink body glitch. So we're getting back into it right now. And I am not seeing, I don't think, any swaps from Josie from 24. They're going to be sticking with it. And here we go. We're getting right into it.
Headsets charged, batteries in place, everyone focused and ready to duke it out here.
Oh, there has been a swap to double shields from Josie. No way.
Robo is...
What are those?
What
are these? What are these crackdown plays going on right now?
I mean,
this is pre-crackdown. This is old school.
The Luma gets through the shield.
Big damage, but a great counter from Josie. They managed to answer back onto 24. The Raptor Ellipse comes through and is nicely avoided again by Josie. And crazy to see a loadout swap here. Josie needed to do something, and let's see if the double shield was it. Only one moment. A test if it is the thing they needed. They had 3 other opportunities to figure it out, but they didn't go for it. And now 24 battling nicely with a minute less has a lead.
Yeah. Yep. Minute left. Josie's sitting at just about half. And again, as much as their defensive capabilities have been increased, their offensive capabilities have gone down substantially. That's not a cheap decision to be making. Okay. Woo! 24 steps in front of that nade. Managing to get through the push. And now they're going to be able to go through. They're going to have to come up against double shields either way, but they try to make the catch. Josie taking a lot of damage. Oh, no.
They tried to anticipate that clamp from the top, but they deployed it too early, and then it ended up catching nothing. It came up, and no bullets hit, and then it goes away and slams into their head. So the timing just a slightly off there for Josie here. Round 1 looking good for 24, as Josie does avoid those Lumas and a little bit of the side damage. They're going to try and attack, try and detonate a late nade right on top of 24. They can't get it. 24, a round away from putting on a fantastic comeback. A long road of 4 game wins in a row is what they will need to have orchestrated to become first place in Season 1. Josie has been so close time and time again, and now it's their turn with their back against the wall to try and grab a round.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying, hey, what the heck's going on? Why the double shield? Okay, and that's a great start. The double shields do go away, and Josie still manages to take a bit of residual damage. They're not going to have the... oh, well, they're going to have that shield ready for the Luma. Oh, but they're already down in about a two-thirds health. Oh.
There's the attack. Good dodging from 24. Blocks, dodging, drop blocks, everything coming in for 24 to survive that onslaught. And now they're going to deploy everything at J. Josie. The double shield comes into effect there. At least one of them does to help shut down a lot of that pressure. There's the second shield to shut down the nade from the side. They survive.
Yeah. And with a minute left on the clock, this could still go both ways easily. Very nice shield, though, from 24. Still managing to hold on.
45 seconds separating 24 from first place. If they can maintain this lead, they will be moving on to first place as the Season 1 champions. Josie says, I need a round. Tries to chip away at the health bar of 24. Can't quite get enough to get the lead, but does do some damage. And with 30 seconds left, there's going to be another opportunity.
Oh my goodness. It really is coming down to 24's dodging ability and the ability to get around these pushes. 15 seconds left on the clock, and I don't know what Josie's going to be able to do with those double shields.
10 seconds. You could throw both. That would be 8 damage if they connected. There's nothing here. Josie can't do anything. One final press in the final moments. That pinch doesn't connect, and 24 comes back from a massive upset, is the Season 1 champion by the skin of their teeth. I mean, what a series to tune into here today. Cap, I mean, you can't get more on your edge of the seat than this.
No. I'd like to congratulate 24 on winning his first ever Blaston tournament, and what a way to start it. VRML finals. Firmly cementing the fact that now we have to say, you know what, yeah, he can beat Josie, he can probably beat Tesseract in tournaments. Very well played. And I've always said that he's definitely got the skill set to get there, but he's not going to be at that very, very, very kind of top level until he proves he can do it in a tournament, and he's certainly done that today. So well done, 24, beating one of the best or all-time greats in a championship. So
now I gotta ask Kat, because obviously not necessarily an upset, but obviously capping off that reverse sweep with going up against those double shields. Now before this matchup, we were talking about both these players really at the end of the day need to stay calm, they need to stick to what they know, and they need to execute. They need to summon the willpower to be able to do that. Do you think that the double shield being brought out from Josie was a calculated decision, or do you think that that was more so a reaction to just how close those matches were?
I think they needed, if they felt the need to do something, right, Cap? I mean, they had to make an adjustment.
I mean, if it worked, we'd all be calling him a genius right now.
Robo President would be foaming at the mouth.
I'm upset because I wanted to see Robo President's reaction, but now he's just going to say this proves him right. Obviously, I had thoughts on that he should probably go a more offensive direction than defensive. But you've got to remember, he's got so much experience with double shields that he probably just harkens back to the fact that, he has won tournaments just bringing out double shields and just taking no damage. So, yeah.
And honestly, it seemed like 24 was kind of punching through the shield even. I mean, even with the Aga shield being kept as sort of that backup, just the ability with the full combo to come through, get rid of the shield, and then follow up with the Luma. I mean, that's what happened, I think, round 1, was that after the whole combo came through, when he went and pushed with the Luma, shield was no longer there to be able to block.
We do have 24 down, lined up for an interview. I'm going to jump down to the channel just by myself. You guys aren't going to be able to join, unfortunately, but I'm going to pump down there. You're going to stay on cam, so don't do anything foolish here, but maybe listen in on stream as we go down to chat with our champion of Season 1, 24. 24, congratulations to you, my friend. What a unbelievable finals. I couldn't have asked for a better couple of games from you. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, I'm glad that I eventually found the right loadout to actually get through that, but unfortunate near the end there was some low power problems with Josie, and that's mainly what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
The in game 6, he very well could have taken that if that end thing hadn't suddenly gotten a lot of damage in.
And I mean, over when you were down 3-0, what was your mindset? I mean, to have to come back from that, what
Well,
was going through your head to push back from such a huge deficit?
well, I knew that the loadout I was gonna switch to would work because it worked against
Hmm.
the same loadout last time we played. Because the loadout was very fast cycle that he was using, so he was constantly doing it, and I couldn't do my big combos without them getting interrupted. So I needed to bring out this one where I had a lot more faster fire and could get more constant damage in, instead of just trying to go for one push that immediately gets thrown over because there's hurricanes falling on me.
Now that you have mounted what is probably the best comeback we'll see on live stream in Blaston tournament history, at least so far, I can confidently say that. How do you feel? Is your heart rate elevated? Are you finally calming down a little bit? Are you still on a high from the win? I mean, what are your thoughts right now
Oh yeah,
after?
the high's still there. That's not gonna fade away for a while. But there's just a lot of sweat, so that's mainly my
Yeah,
problem right now.
I mean, the stamina element, we talked about it. Was that a factor for you? You had a huge game 5 that to kind of kick things off, and then to go all the way game 7. It's got to be draining, right?
Yeah, it is, but like I play sports, soccer, so I'm used
Okay.
to like powering through when I'm tired. So
Okay.
my legs are sore now after it's done, but while it's going, I'm not thinking of anything but the game.
Well, the physicality then makes sense there. Again, I want to say congratulations to U24, a
Thank you.
fantastic series. Any final thoughts you have to say after what has been a long season of gameplay, and now really you're the first person to earn championship points going into
Yeah.
this whole championship series.
Well, I'm excited about that. Hopefully the championship goes well too.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll get another rematch against Josie, and don't know how that one will go. He might come and kill me again,
Yeah.
or break my knee like he did to Tess. But well, I'm just happy that happened, and sad that there were some problems in it, but hopefully it's all right.
Yeah. Well, again, congratulations to you, 24.
Thank you.
Hats off to the championship. We'll be seeing that banner in game soon enough with you representing, so I'm looking forward to that. And I do want to come back to the casting team for our final thoughts of the afternoon before we sign off. An interesting interview there from 24, learning that stamina not an issue because they are training essentially every day for it already with soccer. That's a great way to boost up your stamina, I can say that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say the same is true of Josie, who plays basketball. You do tend to find that the
Yeah.
top level
Oh, yeah.
athletes are very athletic within Blaston. The other top player, Tesseract, played lots of football, which ultimately was his undoing because he got a nasty injury and it put him
Yeah.
out for a while. But fantastic play by 24 and Josie in that final. It's one for the books. Yeah, I couldn't think of a better way to end VRML.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oolong, your thoughts?
Oh, you know what? I'm actually looking at, excuse me, I'm looking at the predictions to see who managed to call this from all the way back there. And actually, the winner of that contest, it's gonna be Josie, who basically predicted everything except, everything including 24 knocking him out, except for him losing in the finals. So, wow, just, really no. Actually, wait. No, predicted winner 24. So he did predict that 24 was going to come back and beat him in the finals as well. So there you go.
Before we just finish that off, let me just update the final score between 24 and Josie, because that hasn't been updated, so that prediction hasn't.
Okay, true.
Because I still have a shot here. Because I actually predicted 24.
There's heavy investment on the desk here, Oolong, in this prediction chart. Okay.
I did horrible.
Yeah, I saw your predictions. Come on.
Not great. I did it right before the tournament started, and I did do some wacky things, but I got most of it right. Losers I did not get at all correct.
Oh,
Everything
I
past
stayed
round
fourth
2 is
place.
gone for me.
Who won after you locked in?
Right, let's see.
Let's.
Oh my good. Oh, actually, it is the one unnamed one. I am right most of the time.
Which I could take credit for. which isn't me, but may as well try.
You're not. I can't believe in my own
Yeah.
prediction. Sloat is the one to take me out.
Anyway,
God,
a big shout out to everyone that was hanging out and enjoying the action here this afternoon, whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or Horizon venues. A shout out to the whole community for participating in VRML Season 1, making it such a success that it was, and truly happy to be involved with this community. Fantastic casting from you, Oolong and Fabulous, this afternoon, and really all season. It's been a pleasure to be alongside you folks on the desk, and I couldn't have asked for a better casting crew than what we have right here for this finals. Couldn't have asked for a better finals. I'm a happy camper to sign things off. Again, appreciate all of you for tuning in, but that's it for us here in Season 1 of Blast On. My name is Ben Nightfire. My co-caster is Dr. Oolong and Captain Fabulous. We'll see you next time.